Oh, let me turn off my notifications. They was clowning me yesterday, bruh.
Oh, I saw.
They was
when
roasting.
You switch camera, when you get to switch camera, man, the messages though, they were clowning me. I was laughing at the screen, though.
Oh, dude. Thank you. I appreciate this.
No problem.
Save video. Hey guys, I'm uploading the Team Huddle video right now. Well, I mean, I can't right now, but I'll do it over lunch. I just saved it. He said you're still a mod.
Alright, so when I go into and I can't stream. Now I can stream. Somebody just changed it. I'm not lying to you. Somebody just changed it.
You're gonna do it in the main group, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So guys, day 2. I'm streaming a little bit. They're about to get started. So stay tuned.
Yeah, someone mentioned it. That was the first one. Yeah, although we just like operating right now, talk to me about it when we're in London.
See, Charles Wetter gonna make the moderator.
It's like a course of here managing email, where managing emails, website, email address.
Ladies and gentlemen, update on start time. We will be starting at 9:40 sharp. Please be in your seats.
What do you say? We're just trying to rectify that. Cool. That ain't tripping, man.
I was like, man, I need my pay, bro. Don't let this fuck up my money.
Yeah, man.
Oh, they went on CPT on us. They said 940.
You serious?
Yeah. Well, I guess I can share it while I'm here. I can share it to the Discord channel. They're starting in 4 minutes, guys. So if you want to share, share this to your Discord, to your Telegram, it's all that good stuff. I'm sharing Discord now.
It's always a balance. How interested you are in like tracking the commission that's going on. Like maybe
Yeah, can you talk this for a second? So I zip this up. Appreciate it.
How you doing? Nice to meet you. Milton.
Milton, how you doing, Milton?
Milton.
Where you from?
I came here from Atlanta.
From Atlanta.
I'm originally from Jersey. Yeah.
So, were you here with a company or you just by yourself?
I'm independent. Like, basically, like, what I do is basically educate the poor and middle class on the importance of learning about blockchain technology and all these different projects. I'm traveling the world right now, and I've been in Jersey, New York, Atlanta. I spoke at Rutgers University, spoke at Columbia.
Good morning, DevCon Day 2. Did everyone have a good night last night?
Yeah.
The workshops, the after events and stuff? Yeah? Awesome. Well, we have an exciting day today. It's going to be amazing. We've got a lot of demos coming up, a lot of projects being built into the Neo ecosystem, a lot of phenomenal speakers. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. So let's kick things off. Our first speaker is Piyush Chakla. He's a partner at Neo Global Capital. And please welcome to the stage, Piyush.
Good morning, guys. Or should I say hello world? Well, whichever way it is, I'm really excited to introduce. Actually, if you were there in the room yesterday about the same time, you would already know about NGC, which is Neo Global Capital. But let me tell you a bit more about it: who we are, what we do, what we're looking for, and how can we all partner together. So, NGC, Neo Global Capital. If you look at the Neo logo, right, it says, just in very small fonts at the bottom, smart economy. And this is exactly in the same manner, I would like to introduce NGC as well. And I would say this is the smart capital for the smart economy. Why do I say smart capital? I mean, in today's world of easy money of ICOs, it's very very easy to forget, what you need as a startup founder. You get carried away. Nothing wrong with this concept. It's a great concept, very powerful, disrupting the venture capital, but it is in very early stages. And I think what we are, there's a small risk that we might, forget the fundamentals, on how to build a company. When you're a startup founder, and I've been one, and I know, how important it is to have that early support, from the partners and the ecosystem. It's a lonely journey. When you're a founder, right? There are many a times when you need help, and if you have investors, who have skin in the game and who can actually support you, it's nothing like that. So this is exactly how the whole idea was conceived, and it's pretty much started from the same place, that how can the entire Neo ecosystem help startups or everyone in the community build up on their ideas, their projects into successful companies. Now, what we want to do is bring all the best practices from the venture capital world and tie them up with the Neo ecosystem, partner with the best talent that is available, and help you in creating your company. Now, the smart capital is pretty much, as you can see, is backed by people with a lot of experience, both on the neo side as well as in the traditional venture capital and private equity space. I mean, if you look at our team, it has the support from. I think Tony, do you want to say hello to everybody? Yes, Tony Tao, the Secretary General, for Neo Council, who's willing to provide our support to the companies that are going to come into our portfolio. We have Wayne Zhu, who is the Head of Investment and Research. It's good. We have Roger, who's been a founder himself, and Tony and myself. And if you see, one thing cuts across is that what you get is very strong experience in the traditional space as well as the new blockchain space. All these guys have done a lot of investing, M&A advisory, and the most important thing, which is the investing in the blockchain space. I mean, you can see they've been part of very interesting companies. But what is even more interesting is the kind of pipeline we have. I think that is the power of the Neo ecosystem. I mean, yesterday I think Hongfei, Uncle Da, he mentioned that we have an allocation in a startup in ontology. I think he mentioned this. We've got 5% allocation into it. I mean, think of it. If I was at any other venture capital firm, would I be able to get into deals like this? So, if you really want to be part of some really interesting deal flow, this is something that we can bring to the table. And by the way, I would also like to mention that this fund is anchored by Neo, but it is also open to other investors. It's a for-profit entity which wants to bring the exact, the strengths of a pure venture capital fund backed by a very strong support from the Neo ecosystem. And you can pretty much see what can be what can happen when you have the entire ecosystem along with you, and it's not just capital. I mean, if you last 1 year, if you followed this space, I think you would pretty much know how easy it is to raise money. But right after that, you need everything else. And this is where we would love to partner with you guys. We would love to help in whichever way we can. Whether you need talent, whether you need support, whether you need market exposure, whether you need to be connected to the other investor community, everything is available. And what are we looking for? I mean, so far I've talked about what we can do for you, but what are we looking for? I mean, the primary things, and if you see, in all this while, we have created a lot of awareness. As a community, as a blockchain community, right? We have created a lot of awareness. There's a lot of interest in the space. But what I think, yesterday there was a speaker, Alex. I don't know if he's in the room, but I think he mentioned that in the next 12 months, if we have to succeed in the blockchain space, and if we don't want to be the 3D printings and those kind of buzzwords anymore, if we have to really succeed and make an impact, to translate all these ideas into real companies over the next 12 months. And those are the kind of people who are really looking to create real companies, real ideas, are committed for the long term. I mean, this is, and I stress on this that if you are in this, to get quick liquidity, they're not for you. If you are looking for real long-term commitment, if you are in this to build the infrastructure of blockchain ecosystem, please contact us. You can reach out to us. I guarantee you we'll respond to each and every message. We look through everything absolutely seriously. And whether you want to partner with us, whether you want to be part of our portfolio companies, whether you want to be co-investing along with us, you're all very, very welcome. Thank you. And I would love to take a few questions if we have time.
What's the minimum investment as an LP?
Sorry, who's that?
What's the minimum investment as a limited partner?
Can we talk about it?
Okay.
Sorry, yes, go ahead.
Are you only funding ICOs or other projects?
No, actually, it's not just that. We are open to, we are a licensed fund manager. We look for, we can take equities into the companies as well. So we are open to the mode of investment. I think mode of investment is not that important. It is more, it's the substance that matters. Sure.
So I'm wondering, what is the main investment criteria you look for in projects that are looking for funding?
Main investment criteria that we look for?
Yeah, like what is something that a project coming to you will look more appealing for you guys to decide whether you want to fund it or not? Is it a really well thought out white paper? Is it a working model? Is it proving like a certain use case already in the market? How would you sort of prioritize that?
So, I think in any startup investment, right, it's the first and foremost thing is actually the team. I think it's the people behind. So, if the people building it, right, do they really have the strong technical expertise in anything and everything that they are proposing that they will do, right? Whether it is a white paper or whether it's a pitch deck, it's pretty much the same thing. Ultimately, it's the team behind, which is going to deliver, right? So you want to see, first of all, what is the commitment and the passion level of these people. And it's nothing new that I'm saying. This is the fact, and that is the bottom line. The kind of areas that we are interested is more or less, if you are right now, we are at the stage where we are kind of like building up the infrastructure of the blockchain space. So if you are into building the what you call the building blocks of the blockchain ecosystem, the infrastructure, we are really, really interested. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. What's your firm's approach with valuation, especially for the larger protocols?
Yep. So look, valuation is something that. So I've been an early stage venture investor for the last 10 years, investing in the seed stage companies, and valuation has been something that I still don't know how to do. I'll be honest. So valuation is something that is defined between what a willing buyer and willing seller are doing, willing to do between themselves. Any valuation. I mean, I can be scientific about it. I can give you 20 theories of how to value. I can give you benchmarks. I'm not saying that I'll pull it out of the thin air, but there are always benchmarks. But you got to see what an investor is willing to do and what you are willing to dilute. And in fact, in the ICO case, you're not even diluting anything, right? So again, the amount of money that you are raising depends on the value proposition. Somebody could be building a very deep technology, even though at early stage, but we have a very deep expertise in building that. The valuation might be very different than a very light, thin. Does it answer your question, or have I confused you?
That's helpful. And just a quick follow-up. What are your thoughts on whether the value will accrue to the dApps, the coins of the dApps, versus the underlying protocol?
Sorry, I'm not really sure whether.
So if I created a dApp and I have a token that's used in the dApp, is your long-term view that the value will accrue to that coin, or that the value will accrue to the protocol that's facilitating the dApp?
I mean, I wouldn't say this is either or, right? I think it's both, right? I mean, if you, I think both of these things reinforce each other, right?
Two questions, sorry to take up your time, but what is the most concerning trends that you're seeing with people that are, or projects that are applying to your team? And is there, well, I know like Fox mining, CryptoBud, and a couple before in this conference. Do you see YouTube and streamer influencers being something that you guys would look to support in that sense?
Absolutely, great question. I think I'm not the only guy who would say this, right? I think the biggest question in my mind and the biggest concern in my mind is actually the sustainability of the ecosystem, right? I think we need to get, as a community, right, we need to get our act together and deliver on everything that we have promised the world. I mean, we have created a lot of expectations, I mean, the expectations have kind of like gone way, way ahead. And if we don't deliver in the next 12 months, I think we'll have a little bit of issue. So, if you really want to benefit from the community, I think guys get real and start building. Did I miss anything?
The YouTube influencers, do you guys see yourself investing or supporting some of the influencers on the internet?
I mean, look, yesterday I think you heard a lot of speakers from the near community. You would have heard that we don't talk about as an entity, we talk about as a community. Right? And if there are influencers who are willing to join, contribute, of course, yes, why not?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but try to summarize
Me too.
just a few. I think one of the first questions that comes to mind when we talk about your particular role in this is, and this is an opinion that I'm looking for, how do you see traditional exit strategies being affected by this new tokenization model?
You ask really tough questions.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a concern. I mean, there's a company that I invested personally some time back. It was a payment processing company. I wouldn't name it, but the company's valuation, and I was an angel investor. Series C round, the company's valuation was about 25 million. The token value today is 600 million.
Yeah.
So, do you think I would want to today acquire that company at 100 million, or would they sell that company for $1 billion if the company's traditional value was 25 million? So there's a disconnect, and this is exactly what I was trying to say, that our expectations, the expectations out of all these companies, right, because of whatever has happened, have gone way beyond reality. Yeah. So either two things could happen, right? One is we totally disappoint. Second thing that I hope for could happen is where we actually start delivering. What if we deliver the value that we promised? What if these tokens are really, really that valuable? And why do you need an exit then? Right. If you have built a successful ecosystem around the tokenization, why do you bother with the exit right at that point in time?
Right. Well, the question, to elaborate a little bit of my way of thinking is there's a current system in place that allows for a lot of things like acqui-hires as acquisitions, and those become exit points for those initial investors. And what I'm really trying to see is how are we going to jump the rails from that traditional system of angel and seed investment, and then going on into those acqui-hires, which are a lot of times those are the building blocks that help create the organization that you're suggesting. And that alludes to my second question, which is probably even more difficult, which is that how in a decentralized world can we bring people together? Because in this room we have an assortment of people, everything from investors to developers to people like myself that play more administrative roles like CEOs. And you're talking about getting our act together, but decentralization by nature is the scattering rather than assembling. So I don't know if you have any insight to that, but I'd love to hear whatever you have to say.
Yeah, I won't call it insight either.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. These are my ramblings at the very best. I agree with you. I think, eventually, this has to translate. So, look, let's not be too critical about ourselves. What I'm saying is that decentralization has its own benefits. So, what if we have the best of both worlds? We latch on to the benefits of decentralization, keeping in mind the benefits of having a very close-knit associates, advisories, the team, the people. And if you look at the city of Zion, these guys have created a fantastic community around. There might be people from all over the world contributing to it. So there are benefits that you can extract from the decentralization, keeping in the advantages of the traditional system. If you look at us, right, this is exactly how we are thinking about our fund. And what we are thinking of is, how can we leverage the power of ICOs? ICOs, everybody says that ICOs are disrupting venture capital, right? But, sorry, I need to be more mindful of time. I'll be very quick. You have people say that ICOs are disrupting venture capital, right? But then there are, and it is true to a certain extent, and theoretically it is possible, and it will eventually happen as well. But what is true to the traditional venture capital is that you have the strengths. There are strengths in being part of a portfolio. You can get the synergies out of the entire portfolio network. The venture funds can provide much more than capital. So, as a community, what can we do to kind of, it's an ideal scenario, right? If you can get the benefits of the new economy, keeping in the strengths of the old economy, as best as you can. Does it? I know.
It's a long conversation, but it's a chicken egg thing.
Right.
Just like everything else in tech, we're going to get out over time going through that chicken egg.
Absolutely. How much time do I have? Good. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to reach out to us. We are at the email ID, the website, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you like. Thank you very much.
I love that answer about investing in teams and people, because that's at the end like our most important asset always. So speaking of good teams and good people, the following projects are winners from the last City of Zion developer competition. These projects and many of the other projects highlighted today are truly a token to the versatility of the NEO ecosystem and the creativity of the developer community. So the next 4 are all demos that were recently built into the NEO ecosystem. It's going to be really exciting to see what they've been working on. And then after that, we'll do a little award ceremony where you get to see more fun stuff. So our first presenters are Joe Stewart and Shane Mann. Joe is the CEO of Splice, a blockchain development consultancy focused on the NEO platform. He's a member of the City of Zion developer community and is a founder of Subproto Hackerspace in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and is a co-creator of Neo Smart IoT, Neolink, and Hash Puppies. Shane is the CTO of Splice and is also a member of the City of Zion developer community. His background is in the field of programming, project management, information security, and has been instrumental in the development of Neo Smart IoT, as well as Neolink and Hash Puppies. So give it up to the team.
All right, thanks everybody. So, this is our DAP competition entry. Some people call it DAP. We call it DAP. But DAP. Yeah, I was just getting that over earlier. Yeah. But yeah, this is what we did. So again, if you've been on the Discord or before that, the Slack, you might have seen us around. I came in as HAL9000. On GitHub, I can't get HAL9000, obviously it's taken, but HAL 0x2328, so it's just HAL9000X. And then Shane is better, everywhere he goes as well. And yeah, we started this company back in May. We weren't actually into neo blockchain at that time. This whole thing was born out of the hackerspace that I founded 4 years ago called Subproto. And we don't live in an area that has a lot of technical community. We live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it's mainly a tourist town, so there's not a lot of opportunities for people like us to socialize or work together with other people with like-minded interests. So I started the hackerspace and just invited everybody in. I had actually met Shane years ago. We worked at a company together, and he was still in the area. So when I found out, hey, come on in, Shane. We'll work on some stuff together. And we decided we like doing electronics. We like doing computers, and it was just natural for us to start working together. So when we started getting into the Neo platform, found out about that. We saw the DAP competition, and we said, hey, we should do something for that. So the question was, well, what do we do? There's so many possibilities. We didn't really know what everybody else was going to work on. So we just went back to our roots at the hackerspace. We like to play with electronics all day long, and build a few Internet of Things devices. We built our own thermostat. It's Wi-Fi enabled, and so we thought that might be a good thing to do, to take IoT devices and put them on the blockchain. So that is what our DAP entry actually is, Neo Smart IoT. It's designed to allow you to control any real-world device using a smart contract on Neo. And the advantage of doing that is now you can take some amount of currency, in our case gas. You can have micropayments, because that's a great thing about the Neo platform with feeless transactions, is you actually can do micropayments that really aren't a possibility on other blockchains. Or you just do it for free. It depends on your use case and how you write your smart contract, but it was really appealing to us. So we wanted to make a platform that was generic enough where you could use it to control any number of devices. If you wanted to make it into a vending machine, something that would open a lock, or play a song on a jukebox, or maybe you could even advertise. You have an outdoor billboard that had an electronic sign, and maybe you could use the blockchain smart contract to send the next advertisement to it just by paying for it. And again, all without having any middleman to take a cut of the profits. So that was our idea, and this is how we built it. Basically, at the core of everything, here we've got our smart contract on the blockchain. On one side, you've got the user side, you've got the web interface. You've got the wallet that they have to have open to invoke the contract and send the funds. And then on the back end, you've got to have code that can know what's happening in the smart contract and react, and then the final end device, which actually performs the action for you. So we'll break down all of the components that we wrote to do this. We're going to start with the web front end, which is actually the part that Shane wrote, so if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the web front end is a Sales.js-based application to basically provide a payment interface. So we try to abstract it away from any particular device. You can pass in numbers, text values, strings. Eventually, it'd be nice to be able to set dynamic payments. But yeah, that's what gives us the interface to the blockchain through another component.
Okay. And we made it fairly generic so that people can look at it and figure out how to extend it to all kinds of different devices. So it's got a little bit of flexibility there. It's not terribly pretty. We're not designers, but we did the best we could. So next is actually a component that we didn't really enter as part of the DApp, but we felt that it was a necessary piece of the ecosystem. You've got Ethereum has MetaMask, where you can have any DApp can just use this Chrome extension to perform the wallet functions and the invocations. It's like we need something like that for Neo, and there wasn't something already, so we're like, well, let's write that. We'll just release that and make that a city of Zion project, and kind of let it exist on its own. But we'll also use it in our DApp. Yeah. Shane's also instrumental in writing that. Again, the JavaScript Node and JS expert that he is. So we talk a little bit about how you did it, and then where the development has gone now.
Yeah, I started out with just a basic browser extension template, and from there started adding features. But I do have to say that the Neo community cause has been incredible. They picked it up in the Neo League channel, and we've just been adding feature after feature. We've worked in React. I was just looking at some stuff today about message passing improvement. Excuse me, between the back end and the pop-up piece. It's been really incredible.
Yeah, so that is out there. We're working on getting into a beta phase where we can actually put something in the Chrome store and have people able to just automatically add it. Right now, if you want to play around with it, you can. You just go to the GitHub and you can go into developer mode and you can build it, you can install it and play with it, and work with it on the test net, obviously, for now. But yeah, we're hoping this turns into a reliable platform for other dApps to use over time. So the next piece, now we're moving towards the back end and how things interact with the smart contract. So what we had to do was make a node, basically, for the Neo network that is hooked in, can monitor notification events coming from the smart contract as the blocks are processed, and then do something with them. So the way that we tied these two things together was using a protocol called MQTT. So MQTT is just a pub sub, basically. It's basically a chat channel for devices. So it's just simple message passing. You subscribe to a channel, and you're just connected, you listen, and every once in a while, a message will come across, it'll be broadcast to everything that's subscribed. So it's a very simple, straightforward protocol. And the great thing about it was that there were already libraries written for the IoT platform that we're using, and also libraries written for Python. So it was kind of a no-brainer. We were able to take code that had been written by Tom for NeoPython and basically adapt that to talk to the MQTT server very easily. All the libraries are ready. NeoPython is a great foundation for any kind of automation you want to do on the blockchain. It's really a great place to go to. There's a lot of code, there's a lot of features that are available in NeoPython that really don't exist in the other wallets right now too. So it's definitely worth looking into. So hopefully everybody that made it last night to Chris's workshop that already has NeoPython set up and running and is taking advantage of this. So the script we have, and it's available that we released in the GitHub, is you neopubsub.py. You can take a look at it, see how that works. If you want to take this and adapt this for your own purposes. And then we have a smart contract, obviously. And that, again, is something that I wrote in Python because, Tom's great Python compiler. Also, fantastically, it allows you to quickly write code, debug it, really quickly deploy it, test it, and iterate over the cycle much faster than having to go through the old GUI interface and compilation with the .NET toolset. So it's really great. The smart contract that we wrote for this is called the El Caro contract, and I named that because it's kind of the opposite of an Oracle contract. In an Oracle contract, you want to know something in your smart contract about something that's happening in the real world. In this case, what we want to do is we want to tell something in the real world that something happened in the smart contract. So it's very simple, straightforward, easy to read contract, I think, where you just got a piece of code that looks for the incoming payments to make sure that they match what is being requested for that particular item. And if the price is met, then it'll send out a notification message that can be watched for by the neopubsub, where it can publish to the MQTT code. And so you just have a few checks in there to make sure that everything is going correctly. And then you have some administrative code where you can set what types of values you're looking for whatever device. You can name them, and then you can add new ones and delete things. And basically just maintain the system of tracking for all these different IoT devices you have on top. My bad is frozen. Oh. Here's it. Yes. So the IoT device firmware, that's pretty straightforward. We went with an Arduino-based platform, so it's very easy to read and write. It uses a language called wiring, which is a lot like C. And again, there were libraries already available to talk to the MQTT service, so it was very straightforward to actually write this. So we're supporting, right now for the smart contract, the example code in the GitHub repository is written for a Node MCU. There are these neat little Wi-Fi enabled devices. You can get these for about $3.50, and they're really nice. They again support the Arduino ecosystem as far as programming. Have the built-in Wi-Fi capability. It's very straightforward to set them up, update them even over Wi-Fi if you want to. But
the ESP32 also supports encryption, which can be nice.
Yeah, it's a great platform, but you're not limited to just that platform. You can also use any kind of Arduino platform that supports some sort of network connectivity, whether it's Wi-Fi or it has an Ethernet shield or whatever you want to use. You're not limited to that. As long as you can incorporate that MQTT library, you're good to go. So the badges that we have here are actually running our Neo Smart IoT firmware. And so we are actually connected to our smart contract on the blockchain. Actually, I guess
you may want to reset
this
because
is
I'll get the signal that
you're connected and I'm not.
Yeah, just
all right. So it goes red when it first comes up. Blue means that it's got Wi-Fi, and green, and it's actually connected then to the PubSub queue. So it was that quick, it was able to reconnect and test it. And so what happens is, if someone invokes that contract, then they can change the color of the badge. So we thought for our demonstration, it's kind of a little bit onerous to try to expect everybody, to be able to do this while we're on stage here. So we decided, well, we have a second presentation later today where we're talking about our hash codes project. So we thought we would carry over the demonstrations so that we would show you how to invoke the contract and change the badge color. And then if you're one of the addresses that we see an invitation come from during our talk, if you're up here changing our badge colors while we're on stage, then we'll give you one of our redeemable hash puppy tokens. So when our game comes out, you'll be able to go. And we were going to give away the first 10 addresses. RHT, but now we've seen the huge turnout here. we saw what ontology is getting, I feel a little bit embarrassed about this. So let's just say 100 RHT, first 100 addresses to invoke the contract while we're on stage during our hash puppet presentation, and we'll hand those out later. So that will be our actual demo. So this is the information you will actually need in order to invoke a smart contract. There's two ways you can do it. You can use that demo code that we showed you, the web front end, and you can go to the GitHub and you can actually learn how to use that through the browser. Or if you went to the NeoPython workshop last night, you have most of what you need already set up probably. But instead of using your private network, you need to switch your NeoPython over to the Neo testnet, because that's where our smart contract lives. And if you go ahead and sync up your blocks up to the current limit, and you put yourself a little bit of gas into your wallet, maybe you can ask somebody in the room for some testnet gas if you don't have any. Then you can change our badge color. So what you have to do is invoke the contract with that hash, and then you're going to use the put value in an array. If you're going to change my badge color, it's HAL is the first argument to that array. If you're going to change Shane's badge, it'll be FET. And then you just pick an RGB color code, and see, you can, somebody just invoked my contract. So yeah, you just attach one gas to that transaction with an RGB color code, and then the badges will change. So we'll do that during our talk, and then we'll go back and see all of the addresses that did that, and we'll reward them. So we just, doing that as a way of saying thanks for, making such a great community. We want to give you guys just a little bit of, reference material here to go back if you want to, have fun with us during this next session. And yeah, that's basically it. I think we have maybe a little bit of time for some questions if anybody has any.
Quick question. So right now you're looking at the for payment services, but are you also, can your smart contract handle a message back, for example, vending machine or there's a bill? So is it a two-way communication, or is that something you're thinking of in the future?
That is something you wouldn't have to go through the smart contract to do that. You could do that just by passing that message to the MQTT server, and then you could have another subscriber that would listen to handle that status. So you can use the same communication channel, but it doesn't necessarily need to go through the smart contract.
That's a good question.
Can you repeat?
So obviously, IOTA is kind of built to exist on those devices, and they're supposed to make this huge magical mesh network where transactions are magically processed without the need of centralized or somewhat decentralized. It's supposed to be some crazy scheme that's going to revolutionize IoT. We're talking about a much more limited thing here. We're not putting any actual blockchain code on our devices at all. They're very simple, and they should be. They shouldn't have to have a lot of complex code on them. They should just do one thing and do it really well. So we went the route of simplification. Let the blockchain do the heavy lifting. We think that Neo can support it. Based on the transaction per second, it should be no sweat for you run thousands of these devices and control them at any time, and have it happen within at least a minute from the time that you broadcast the transaction, it goes to consensus, it gets rebroadcast back, it handles it, publishes it, and then it changes the state.
We're considering doing some battle testing to see how many transactions we could do, maybe what Neo could really support. I know in my RTAs, they're looking forward to trillions of transactions a day potentially. So that's a lot to keep up with.
I think we might be at time now. Any more questions? All right, thanks, guys.
That was cool. I always love hearing stories about people and their screen names, and they like pretty weird. So yeah, our next speaker is an entrepreneur and a product designer passionate about systems thinking and human-centered design and its implications across business sectors. He's also a musician and a leader of multidisciplinary creative collaborations with the media industry. His experience is focused on the intersection of business, technology, and creativity. He's the founder of Musify, a decentralized platform for music-related digital content. So give it up for Nate Strain.
Give it up for Alex, our MC. He hasn't had a round of applause yet. So I'm really fortunate to be here to talk about Musify and the project that we're working on. But I want to touch on something that's been said a few times throughout the conference that I think is really important for us all to remember. And it was said most clearly, I think, by Fabio, the leader of City of Zion, yesterday in the panel. And he said that humans are the secret to blockchain. And I think that's something that's really important to remember because, you know, in the midst of all of this rapid evolution with this technology and all the opportunities that come from it, I think it's really important to remember that, you know, we are the humans that are interacting with it, and it's important to give that value. So we're really fortunate and excited at Musify to be working on an application for that. And we're excited to bring a platform together at the intersection of music and technology. And I think the reason this is so important to us is because music has such a strong intrinsic value. And it has a really a global appeal, and it's something that we all can relate to and enjoy. And it's a really exciting opportunity to create a new way that this blockchain technology will allow us to consume and interact and even collaborate with others around the world. So I'd like to present Musify, which is a music distribution ecosystem, and it's really rethinking and reinventing the music infrastructure around the world. So before I go into the product a little bit, I want to talk about the industry landscape. So artists, creators, and entrepreneurs are currently operating in a very complex web of systems and outdated processes that really create a huge value gap in this space where the value that's delivered to end users, listeners, and users is really not reciprocated in the value returned to artists. And the reason for that is that there are these intermediaries in the space, from collections agencies to rights organizations and record labels. And they create a huge disconnect for the value that artists create in this space. They're the key creators of value, but they're not rewarded the way that they should be. And so that's why we're trying to redevelop this infrastructure, to give the opportunities to artists that they need, to give them the resources. And as was being discussed in this Global Capital talk this morning, you know, we see artists as businesses and not commodities. And we need to support them and even invest in them to allow them to grow. And this is a really exciting opportunity that we're tackling with our platform. So we see Musify as an artist-centered earning platform, we like to call it. And what that means is that these intermediaries that have typically existed in the space, the labels and the rights organizations, they're no longer required. We now put artists at the center of this interaction, and we allow for a direct peer-to-peer exchange of value between artists and labels, and artists and fans, and even artists and investors. And we do all this with our token, our IMU utility, and it allows for kind of an economic engine for exchanging value between all of these processes. And we describe this as an open system, but what it really is it is a place where every interaction that takes place in the music space, from production to collaboration amongst artists, to investment in artists, and to distribution, they can all occur in one place. So what the flow of this value exchange really looks like, it can really be quite far-reaching. You know, we created opportunities for artists to garner support from investors and fans in the form of crowd-funded ICOs. which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. And we've created this fully functioning system where artists can receive support. They can then take those funds and directly use them to support projects like albums and tours. And then they can deliver a very strong and clear value to their listeners and their fans. And they can connect directly to these artists in a way that really provides them with some incredible data and interaction that hasn't been possible before. So if you look at the example of a streaming service, as it exists now, you may pay $10 a month for Spotify or Apple Music, or you may not even pay at all. But what happens with that money? It first goes to the streaming service, it then goes on to a collecting service, and then on through a rights organization that manages the copyrights of the music, and finally on to the record label, and then months later, and in a fraction of the value that's deserved, it's finally distributed to the artists. So with our system here, we can destroy that old infrastructure and create a direct transaction system and an automatic transaction system from the artist to the listener, or the fan, or the investor. So the possibilities for exchanging value in this system are pretty limitless, and it's been really fun to design this utility, but we're focusing on a few key use cases for our initial platform. And so a few of those that are worth mentioning is this bridge between artists and investors. So we're allowing and providing an opportunity for artists to reach out to their supporters and investors in this space and create an ICO that will allow them to offer a portion of equity to their supporters and thus fund the projects that will aid them in developing. And really creating a sustainable source of revenue and a sustainable career for them, which hasn't been possible before. And also with this token, we are providing fair royalty payments to artists, whether it's streaming, purchases, or licenses. We're also going to be rewarding users for curating content and contributing, which we see as a really strong value in incentivizing adoption of the platform. And we do all of this while maintaining a sort of open innovation space and community for new developers and new businesses to occur. And we're really welcoming and inclusive to anyone who wants to take part in the music industry. We welcome them to reach out to us and get in touch, because we are providing the platform and the community, and we want to create a new infrastructure, and we're doing it, but it takes the people in the industry to come and join us. So I want to talk a little bit more about this crowdfunding ICO idea. So we're going to provide sort of a consulting service for artists. I think we can all agree that there's going to be a significant amount of education in the cryptocurrency world over the next 12 months, and I think it's really vital for that to happen, for it to survive. And we're going to play a key part in that, in educating the creators and the creative people and the artists. So we'll educate them in any way they see fit. Some artists like to focus on their work. Some artists like to be kind of a one-man show. And we'll provide the service and advise them on the best token structure to support their short-term goals, so supporting the scope of the project that they're looking for, and also their long-term career goals, so that they can use this token as a way to sustain the value in the ecosystem they're operating in. And so once we've launched a few of these successful tokens and campaigns, and this idea of an artist token, which the guys at Huddle actually have been truly pioneers in doing. They actually have their own token that they use to support an album, just like I'm talking about. It's a pretty cool project. You should check it out. But once we have a few more of these tokens in the space, and it's kind of become infiltrated in the community, we envision this iMusify exchange. And the iMusify exchange is a place where any music-related asset can be exchanged, from content to tokens themselves. And so the way we're able to do this with such ease and convenience is we're going to use the next ICO template that was talked a little bit about yesterday. So with this template, we can create Net5 compliant tokens for our artists that allow for really important things in the process that we're trying to do. So they allow us to have these tokens take part in exchanges and other advanced interactions. And they allow us to kind of create a list of eligible parties. So it'll allow artists to give special preference to their supporters and their fans. It's a really important part of this ICO for artists, in our opinion. So this template is really just one piece of, or one tool that the Neo community has provided us with. And it's really been important for us to get support from them. So it was mentioned earlier, we were incepted, we took part in the City of Zion DApp competition in November. And after that happened, we realized that, this started as a project and an idea, but there's such a strong support in this community, and we saw the City of Zion as such a role model of what a community of doers, as Fabio said, can really make happen if they share common value. So we began to push this project forward and develop our own open source community following the ideals of the City of Zion. And the development that's happened even in the last month has really been quite exciting. So we're rapidly pushing forward to launch our initial platform, which is going to be live this summer. And we're also approaching our ICO that's going to be coming later this spring. So I want to talk a little bit more about the supporting features that Neo is offering us. So a few of them that have been created recently that we'll be using are, the first that's important is the smart identity. And what that will allow us to do is support this web of trust compliance model that we've heard talked about. And this really is important in creating security behind these transactions of assets. So we'll use things like multi-factor authentication and fingerprints and potentially even voice to create a secure transaction system. We'll also use the Neon wallet as the light wallet that's involved in these transactions. We'll use their NeoFS distributed storage for storing our large database of content in a distributed fashion. And lastly, we'll use the NeoVM. We learned quite a lot about the use cases of this virtual machine yesterday. But the main use that we'll be focusing on it is for copyright management and really creating an expansive system and an updated system for managing artists' rights and delivering the value that they need. So all these tools allow us to create a pretty awesome user interface. We're developing web, desktop, and mobile applications, and we're hoping that this is going to provide an accessibility for all of our different user types, from executives to entrepreneurs to developers to artists to even listeners. So these user interfaces are going to be really important for creating a network and a community that is easily adoptable and that is sustainable. So our white paper is published, and we really recommend you stay tuned in Neo News over the next couple months. There's some very exciting stuff to announce. Our utility token, IMU, is going to hit pre-sale May 1st. We're going to go into a crowd sale on June 1st. And so I just want to finish up by challenging you guys to ask yourself a question throughout the next couple days, and that is, when you enjoy music, it's a very integral part of a lot of our lives. It's been amazing to talk to so many people here and hear about the people in Neo who actually have musical backgrounds. But when you think about when you consume music, and you think about the enjoyment that gives you and the emotion that it brings out, think about the people who have created that, and think about how our technology will allow for a way to reward them better, and just to think that this is a true use case and a sustainable application of this technology, and I encourage you guys to look for our platform in the future. So I think I have a few more minutes for questions, if anyone has. Yeah.
How are you different from Singular DPD?
From what?
Singular DPD.
I'm actually not familiar with the platform.
It's the same thing, and also organizing the artists and doing the same thing as you. That's what I read. Yeah.
So I think what really sets us apart is the sense of community that we have. All of our team are artists, and we all have our own personal networks associated with us: artists, creators, producers, executives, really industry veterans. And when our platform launches, I think that's going to be an immense tool in creating a rapid adoption in the industry. So I think that's what really sets us apart, is all of our collective vision within our community is going to be really a valuable tool for us. If that answered your question. Anyone have any other
charge, right? How could you handle it? Because you have a manual, you initiate this transaction, right?
Sure. So you're talking about kind of the revenue stream. So we've actually created a structure that will allow for free streaming for listeners. We have a large incentive pool that we're going to use to reward our artists, and so that actually mitigates the need for a monthly subscription. But there will be other alternate revenue streams from purchases and sync licenses, which will be a really strong key point of the revenue of our platform. Thanks. Yeah.
So there's a couple of platforms tokens and also uses like music. Another question I wanted to ask is how does this work better than say Patreon?
Sure. So I think one of the key differentiators that I actually didn't touch on. So the question was, how does this work better than Patreon? Patreon is a supporting an artist framework that allows you to voluntarily pay for a subscription to access their work. So I think a big part of the thing that differentiates us from Patreon is this crowdfunding model. So we will actually, as a platform, support each of our artists in each of their crowdfunding campaigns. So we are taking an active role in supporting them and giving them the resources they need to succeed. Whereas Patreon is more of a connecting point for people who want to participate and the artists themselves. So we're taking kind of a leading by example role in doing that supporting. Got time for one more if anyone has another question. Sure.
Thank you. Why, in your opinion, personal opinion, why an artist needs to be tokenized?
So I think the biggest part of it, the question was, why does an artist need to be tokenized? And I think the biggest part of it is artist sustainability. A lot of times when people get into this space to create music, they get really bogged down because there's no really hope on the horizon for them to increase their earning and to create a sustainable model for themselves. But what a token does is it allows them to create a continuous reference point for their value. It allows them to grow within the community and to really redeem the value that they've created with their work in the form of a token, which isn't possible without that. All right, I think that wraps up my time. I appreciate you guys taking a listen, and I'm looking forward to the next few talks. Thank you.
I'm very curious to see how the music industry keeps developing. Like, a lot of us grew up paying like $12 for one CD, and now it's like $10 for every piece of music out there. So you can imagine somewhere down the line, something broke. So those projects are really cool. Our next speaker is hailing from London. He's a blockchain developer. He's the creator of NeoAuth and a maintainer of the GoNeo SDK. He has experience working with IBM and BBC News, so give it up for Charlie Revitt, founder of NeoAuth, and login using the Neo blockchain.
Hi everyone. My name is Charlie Revitt. I'm here going to be talking about the decentralized application that I built that allows anyone to log in using the Neo blockchain. I'd just like to first thank Neo for giving me the opportunity to be here today. I'm all the way from London. It's great to be here. I'm very grateful. I'd also really like to thank City of Zong, because this is officially like a funded project by them, and then also Kryptonite One for helping out with some sponsorship. Today, I'm just going to give like a really high-level overview of the project, why we started it, and kind of what's been done over the last 4 months. Then go into the technical details of what's been going on really, how it works, some of the benefits, why specifically I think this can work on the Neo blockchain and maybe not on other public blockchains, and some of the current challenges that we're trying to fix in 2018. So NeoAuth, I think, is a pretty simple decentralized application. That was one of the main goals, was not to build this huge project, one of the first kind of decentralized applications on the Neo blockchain. It simply allows anyone to log into a web or mobile application using a Neo smart contract invoke instead of doing the standard kind of email and password. So you'd use your normal wallet address, so public and private key, to sign a transaction, send that to the Neo or smart contract, which would then allow you to kind of prove that you are who you say you are and log into that system. And this is looking at integrating into any web application that already has authentication. So talking to the community, a lot of people see it as a kind of OAuth type mechanism. You can expect it to kind of sit below or above, like logging with Facebook, logging with Neo. That's where a lot of people kind of see it. Technically, it's very different to OAuth, but it's an easy way to describe it if you're familiar with that process already. Quickly looking at what we've done so far already. Obviously, the City of Zion guys published in September the first competition that really sparked the interest for what are we actually going to build. Again, I wanted to do something quite simple. Over the next couple of months, we then built it and launched it on the testnet with lots of kind of community participation. Talked to Tom a lot on Slack. He was a great help. December was when City of Zion announced who won the competition. We were really lucky to be one of the chosen 10 projects and secure some funding, which has helped kind of carry the project into 2018. And up until now, we're rewriting all of the back end to make it a little bit more user-friendly and secure, because we got some feedback from the community. Interestingly, we also had to rename the project because of trademark issues, so it was called BlockAuth, so now it's called NeoAuth. Looking at the motivation, I think one of the core things from a business point of view was businesses want to, websites want an easy way to kind of look at how they can start using blockchain, or specifically Neo. And pretty much every single website you need to log in, so allowing them to integrate a simple solution into their existing authentication mechanism is kind of what we're going for. So something not too over the top, something that most web developers could start to do, and if they're really interested in blockchain, that they would go after it. From an end user point of view, we wanted to increase the authentication security for end users, so get away from email and passwords. This has been a push within the industry kind of altogether, so you've seen Slack use magic links that use emails and no passwords, same with SMS. So it's a push within the industry, and we wanted to kind of ride with that. And of course, we wanted to promote Neo, because if you make a good project, then you can push it into businesses that may not already know about Neo. And we specifically wanted to make this a very simple smart contract, so that developers joining the community had an easy place to start and understand how an existing project developed. So technically, what is NeoAuth? How's it made up? So at the top, we've got the NeoAuth node, which is kind of like a middleware. It means that the business doesn't actually have to integrate directly with the Neo blockchain. They can just use a really simple REST API provided by the node. This does mean that a network of NeoAuth nodes have to be run, and they have to be decentralized. I'll go into that slightly later. That is a problem that we're having with the project so far. This is written in Go and uses the NeoGo SDK that I authored in CSZ. It's pretty simple, and it allows the businesses to kind of be shielded from any of the complexities of the blockchain. The second part is an SDK written in JavaScript, which is what the businesses are actually using to integrate NeoAuth into the authentication solution. And then we've got a smart contract, again, like the guys said earlier, written in Python, because we saw it as the easiest way to debug and quickly test on the Neo blockchain. I'm going to quickly go through the 10-step process of what actually happens in a login attempt using NeoAuth to kind of shine a light on exactly what's going on. So a user will visit an app which is integrated with NeoAuth. They'll enter their public address. This is the only thing they need to enter at this point. The application will then send this address to a NeoAuth node, which will respond with a proof, which is contained within a signed JWT token. If you don't know what a JWT token is, it's simply a encrypted or signed blob of JSON, which simply means that all parties know that that piece of data has not been tampered with by a middleman. You can read it without knowing the key, but you can prove it using public and private key cryptography. That proof is just a string that the user will need to enter into the smart contract. So that's passed back to the application, and the application will then render that to the user. At this point, the user then goes off and invokes the NeoWolf smart contract with that proof using the address that they entered earlier on. This goes into the NeoWolf smart contract, which stores this proof in the storage mechanism of the smart contract. So at this point, we've got the proof sat in that smart contract, but the application doesn't know if it actually exists anymore. It doesn't exist yet, so it needs to query the blockchain. The easiest way to do that is go through one of the NeoWolf nodes instead of going directly there. So it queries the NeoWolf node to ask, does that proof exist in the smart contract? At that point, the NeoWolf node does an RPC call using the Go SDK to the blockchain to check for that storage. If it is present, it then needs to validate that that proof has been stored by the address that the user entered it first. So someone could have got the proof and entered it from a different address. You need to validate that. If that is the case, then the NeoWolf node will return another signed JWT token, and that's the point where the application can then store that in session storage or local storage on the device, and it's a similar authentication flow from then on, because within that signed JWT token will be some kind of identifier, most likely the address of the user, and that's what the application then can use to understand who that person is. So normally that might be an email address, but in this case it's a Neo address. The NeoWolf smart contract is incredibly simple. It's 100 lines of Python. Most of them are comments. It's a great place to start if you want to look at a real-world smart contract. So the first thing it does is just validates the proof, a format of the proof. We don't just want to be storing anything in the smart contract storage, and there's a specific format to what that proof should look like. So make sure that it's a valid proof, and then goes on to store that proof as the key within the storage mechanism. So if you're familiar with key value storage, or Redis, for example, that's how the storage mechanism within Neo works. So the proof is the key, and the value is the transaction. So when the RPC call goes to the Neo blockchain, you'll be looking at the stored transaction hash using the proof key, which the JWT token it contains, and the transaction hash can then be used to get the address of the person who invoked the smart contract, which will allow you to know if it's actually you or someone else that invoked it. So we've got some benefits that we really like. Some of them are quite nerdy, some of them are not. Obviously, the big one is there's no passwords, and you get to use the public key cryptography within the Neo blockchain, which of course means that you can store your login credentials like how you store a normal address, so that can be on a hardware device. One that might be overlooked, but we think is quite important, that it's fully decentralized and it's open source. Most authentication mechanisms or solutions aren't. Is that it's quite a simple introduction to the blockchain. We've had some other suggestions of how to add reputation and other things into the product, but we want to keep it pretty simple so that it's not it's got a low barrier to entry to people want to use it. One thing that the Reddit community has kind of picked up on that we think is quite cool is multiple identities. So as you all know, it's pretty easy to generate a new Neo public key or wallet. So it means that you can instantly create new identities because those wallets act as your identities. So you could go as far as creating a different identity for every single application, or you could create anonymous temporary identities or group your identities based on work, personal, shopping. If you use Firefox, this kind of already exists, but you could actually go a step further to actually log in with them. You can kind of imagine a Chrome extension, so you can pick which key you're willing to use. And I think at this point, saying that yes, this is a CSE project, so of course this is going to be on the Neo blockchain, but I think I don't think it would work on other blockchains because we have very, very fast block times. So yes, the user will probably have to wait 20 seconds to log in, but if that's on another blockchain, it would be much longer than that because it will require more than one confirmation. On Neo, you only need one. If we actually got the block times down to 15 seconds, like the white paper says, it would be even better. Because the cost of invoking a smart contract from a user perspective is based on how complex that smart contract is, and the NeoAuth smart contract is very simple, it means that it's completely free for users to use. And other than that, generally the development experience of using Python, working with COZ, and getting that support has been great. It's been really good getting some feedback on Reddit. Everyone's really approachable and wants to get involved. And I think the last thing around funding, there aren't other public blockchains which have got big funding efforts to put money in smaller projects like this. We do, however, have some current challenges. We are open to DDoS because all the proofs are stored within the same kind of general bucket in the smart contract, which means that someone could technically send a bunch of proofs with the correct format to the smart contract and block other users from logging in. They would never log in as that person, it would just block the other person from doing so. This is highly unlikely because generating the proofs is really random, but if you were really determined, you could probably start doing it. We're looking at fixing that this year. Public and business understanding of both private keys and then understanding the value of this is lacking. So a lot of people on Reddit didn't really understand using public-private keys, and that was just because people are still quite unfamiliar with them, and it's the whole idea of people think it's a wallet and your coins are stored on your wallet and not the blockchain. So there's still some work to do there. I think invoking smart contracts in general on the Neo blockchain has some work to do there in terms of user experience. The NeoLink guys are doing some great work, and when that gets more towards what MetaMask is like, I think that'd be great. Already talked about slower block times, so that impacts the user's wait time. So if it did get to 15 seconds, it would make a big difference. And finally, I mentioned earlier that there's a need to run as many decentralized NeoAuth nodes. Most of them are run by us currently. It's quite hard to incentivize people to run them unless they're using NeoAuth, but we'd like that to happen. So we're thinking of ways of rewarding people and also reducing this kind of difficulty to set up. So what are we going to work on in 2018? The first quarter is just integrating with some COZ projects, so we really want to put it into the Neon wallet and NeoLink, and then finish the rewrite on version 2. That'll then lead us to get some more kind of final testing with the community, and then launch on mainnet, which we've been wanting to do for a while, but there's still some like niggling bits in our smart contract that we want to make perfect. After that, we want to prove that people actually want to use this. So talk to both people in the crypto space and outside of the crypto space to see if people would like to integrate this into their websites. And then finally, trying to fix that issue with the NeoAuth nodes. So it's hard at the moment because we can't reward people, so maybe doing a token sale, raising some private funds, we can find a way of rewarding people for actually running those nodes. Cool, so that's NeoAuth. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty simple decentralized application, so if you are a developer, you just want to get a kind of easy intro into an end-to-end solution, then check it out on GitHub, or follow us on Twitter, or follow me on Twitter, and just ping me any messages that you've got. Cool, thank you very much.
seems like a really awesome way to get involved from if you just want to learn about blockchain or either from like the more development side. So really cool stuff. Our next speaker is a software engineer from Portugal. He's got 17 years of professional experience and a background operating systems, compilers, game engines, and GPU computing. He's the creator of the Fantastic protocol and is currently developing tools for the Neo blockchain. You might remember him from the panel yesterday. Give it up for Sergio Flores.
Hi, I'm Sergio and I'm here to present the Fantastic. So, let me just learn how to use it. It's my first time. What button should I press? Okay. So, what is Fantastic? Fantastic is a protocol to decentralize content and facilitate exchange of content between users. It started as a project for City of Zion competition. And when I speak about content, I'm talking about emails, files, invoices, basically anything that can be encapsulated in a message between two users. But let's first see how the idea for this project started. Probably all of you know about Mega Upload, which was one of the biggest cases of when a website was shut down. And 1 year after that, LavaBit was an email provider, had a similar problem. Everything was shut down. Every user that used this service lost their emails. So as long as we have content that is posted by a third party, we as users don't have the control of our own emails, our own content. And this was a problem I wanted to solve. So City of Zion decided to have this very wonderful idea of inviting developers to participate in the contest. This competition allowed many persons like me to learn more about Neo, and we also improved the Neo ecosystem by creating tools and libraries. Almost everyone that participated in the contest did help a bit. In my case, I decided to take my idea about fixing the problem of decentralized email, and I created this small demo. It looks like Gmail. That was probably what the most used email today. And but what we have here, this demo is actually running on the new blockchain. So we don't have any servers, and we don't have passwords. Basically, our new wallet is what you use to log in. And basically, even if me as a developer disappears from face of earth tomorrow, everyone can still continue to use it. That's the idea for this proof of concept. But let's note that I was not the first to think about decentralizing email. I found at least 2 previous projects, but they had limitations. First, they came from this time before smart contracts, when you just have Bitcoin and lots of Bitcoin clones and many limitations. For example, they got to have email address. They just use the wallet address to exchange messages, which is not very useful. And also, they could not communicate with normal email systems like Hotmail, Gmail, which was one of the biggest improvements that I wanted to bring to this. Later, I actually was one of the winners of the competition. And I started getting really good feedback about this, and I decided to turn it into a real product. But I wanted to go further, and I think, what if I can decentralize not only emails, but maybe I can generalize the system to support more types of content. And I started studying what kind of content I could have. And then generally, our content can be stored in the same way, just bytes. The main difference between content is how you access them. So I see, if I just have some kind of permission system, maybe I can create lots of different stuff. I'll explain this a bit later. For now, let's explain the team. As I decided to learn it to real product, I have to explain the team. So Miguel joined as a blockchain expert. I know him for many years, and he too, like me, is a big fan of Neo. Then the other Sergio joined as business lead. Let's see the very simple concepts about our Phantasm. We have users that are going to exchange messages between each other. And then we have a box. What I call a box is a generalization of emailing boxes. It's like an email box, we can have any kind of content there. And then we have a very important concept, the gate. The gate is what we want to put in our boxes, and this gate is going to, it's like a permission system. They define who can write inside a box and who can read the contents of a box. Then finally, we have the tokens. And the tokens are just the payment that is going to be used for access passing through the gates. Here, let's take a very more deep look at the flow of everything we're going to do. We have a user going to start to create a box, and that box will have a name like we have an email address. That somehow that's going to hide the actual Neo wallet address behind that name, so that part is going to be hidden. Then we can put gates on these boxes. And gates can have different modes. They can give free access to the gate. They can be pay once, you pay some tokens, and you have infinite access to that gate. Or you can have some kind of subscription system where every month or every week you need to pay more tokens to access it. And the good thing of this system is, well, very simple. It allows to create many types of things, not just email. And later we're going to see some examples. But now let's just speak about tokens. We have many companies now in the blockchain area that decided to, let's create AKO, have some tokens, but many are doing something that are not agree. They just have their own servers, and they say, well, to use those servers, you're going to have to pay tokens. And that's just it, which is basically just replacing normal payment with tokens, not making good use of the blockchain. So for Phantasma, they're going to be a Phantasma ecosystem where we have many roles, for example, developers, consumers, and content producers. We are going to provide very products that allows for those that want to monetize data to play a role on this. And the tokens will flow between everyone. Now let's take a look at some use cases of this technology. The first use case is the most obvious. Like I talked about, it's a delighted email. In this case, it's very simple when using the box system. You create a box, and this box will define a gate with simple permissions. Only the owner can read the inside of the box. But anyone can write to this box. And this basically emulates an email system. This is what we have currently running on the new testnet. Later I'll show you the website link and you can try it. Now for the second use case, it's simple. We take the previous case and invert the permissions. So now we have a box where anyone can read it, but only the owner can write it. And it's a simple way to describe an oracle. Now a more advanced use case. Taking the permission system and the box system, it's simple to create, for example, a chat group or a clone of Discord, a Slack, simply by having a box where we have a group of users with permissions to read and write. Nobody else from outside can read. And now, an even more advanced use case. This time we need two boxes. It's centralized e-commerce. Or another way we can describe a system for in-application pushes. Here we have two boxes. One will contain products and another will contain orders. Then with a tool that we're going to see later, we can have a system to distribute files automatically. This project is a bit complex, so we have some challenges we need to find a solution. First, how to decentralize content, how to remove the third party from this. Of course, it is using blockchain, and that's how the project started. Because we cannot have a single point of failure, and we need to avoid censorship of governments and other kinds of entities that can shut down service. And second challenge, storage. Blockchain was not exactly designed to store large amounts of data, and that's a problem that we need to solve. And for the third challenge, if you get a product, person need to use the product otherwise just wasting your time. And you need to find a way to bring persons to this platform. So let's see the solutions that I found for these problems. So how to solve the decentralization problem? Of course, I choose Neo blockchain. As you all know, right now is one of the fastest platforms with smart contracts. And also is the platform that we can use mature technology like Visual Studio, which I've been using for many years. So when I found out that I could make smart contracts with it, and I dropped Ethereum and just go to this. For the storage of content, this one is I'm using something called interplanetary file system, which is a peer-to-peer file storage. It's decentralized in a way, and it combines very well with Neo. The demo that I created for the contest, I already used it. I'm still evaluating possible alternatives. Let's see what came from here. For the third challenge, here is the difficult part because even if I create a good platform, I need users. For this, the token economy is going to bring persons because Phantasm will allow to monetize different types of data. I'm also going to provide an SDK that is going to be developed together with Miguel. And we also have plans for a future marketplace of data. Now, let's take a look at what's already done, what's going next to come in our roadmap. Here's some products. The Phantasm protocol is the smart contract that is already running the testnet of Neo. It tells it is where the box gate system is implemented. Then we have Phantasm SDK. Phantasm SDK is currently a C# SDK that allows interactions in their blockchain and publish content, read the boxes, and create gates, that kind of thing that will be necessary for the Phantasm. Later we'll provide implementations in different languages. After we have those main products, after it we can create our own products like Phantasm Email. Will be basically a big example of how anyone can use Phantasm. After it, we also publish Phantasm Node, which is a way to anyone to push their own content to the Phantasm network. This will allow anyone, as well, wanted to publish a new smart contract. It's a bit expensive. It costs hundreds of gas, and I speak with many persons that for them it was a downside using Neo. With Phantasm Node, anyone can write an application, decentralize it, run on Neo without having to deploy smart contract because you're going to pass through the Phantasm smart contract. We're also discussing partnerships with email companies and other companies that are going to use these systems. Finally, here's our roadmap. Last year we started teasing there, we created the proof of concept and win the competition. Now, we have plans for a token sale later. We are still, first we have to have a working product because before I went in here in America, I put the website online and I put there my Discord link, Telegram, just to have it ready for the event. However, after some minutes, random people started appearing and ask you when the top seller white paper, and yeah, it's not ready, so we have to wait a bit. So after we have some working points, we're going to release some alpha beta and beta versions, and later on we will have the finished products. Here's our website. You can visit for more information. We have our LinkedIn profiles if you want to check our background, and also links for Discord, Telegram, Twitter. And now, if anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free. No questions?
So how do you actually, I'm not asking for your secret sauce, but how are you connecting the real world mail address,
Yeah.
address to a distributed blockchain solution that has no server?
That's a good solution. For that, we need Phantasm ecosystem where anyone can run their own email server. But there's two things. If we have to communicate between users of Phantasm network, they can do it without the server. For those outside, you have to have a bridge between normal email protocol, which is called SMTP, and Phantasm email. So for that, we need a bridge, what is called Phantasm node. And for example, if I want to run a server, I have to have a server that's going to make that bridge. That will be necessary. But that is something that I will be running my own server just for demonstration purpose, but anyone can do that because it's the open source.
So, like for example, you have Slack on Phantasma network that's subject to a 15-second delay.
Yeah.
That a bit too much. How do you solve that problem?
Currently, a possible solution will have to have an option solution that will be as a live message so they can reach faster. Yeah, that is our current solution. Any more questions?
I have one more question. For the storage, are you starting to look at the Neo storage solution rather than?
I actually only thought about it after the previous presentation. I saw it and, well, Neo file storage, I actually never heard about it. But I'm going to look about it and study I don't know what's the current state of it. It's already ready to production or no. I need to investigate that. Any more? Okay. Thank you.
Well, those are some really cool projects, right? Up next, we're going to have the award ceremony and follow with a little Q&A session for City of Zion and the entire team. So if you have any good questions, that'll be a good time. So please help me welcoming back to the stage the founder of City of Zion, Fabio Canisi.
So most of you guys saw the presentation today about some of the dApps that appear on the competition for COZ. And you probably know there's another competition open for Microsoft and Neo, right? There's also a competition for COZs open to have twice the chance of winning. And the competition is very similar to the first one. There is 10 winners, and there is a flat prize for all the 10 winners. So I invite everybody to join it and try to do something. As you have saw, we look at projects that are promising and have a proof of concept. You do not need to have a full project, but you need to have something working that is new and exciting. If you do not win, keep developing, and probably another competition will appear that you have the chance to participate again with the same project, more major and so on. So we have a little ceremony where we're going to give away and bring the guys here so you guys can ask questions. Let's start. So the first place was Phantasma. Oh, sorry. In the fifth place was Phantasma. In the fifth place was Phantasma. He already did that, so there's no issue. Sergio just, yeah,
feel free to come up. We'll get everybody on the stage.
So I have to remember this is a decentralized project. So we are bringing only 5, but there was 10 winners, and some of them we don't know. So in the fourth place was Neo Alf. The third place was one of these decentralized projects, Chainline. So the winner is not a test user, and I'm gonna deliver here. He received it in the blockchain. It's just a piece of I don't know what's in this plastic. The second prize is to Ubisify. And the first is Neo Smart IoT. So I have to say that all these projects did exactly as I told you guys. They joined on the chat, did something, then we open the competition, they keep doing, and they win. So it's really like that. Let's open for some questions, so you guys can ask directly then, and B, how to join the competition, how to win the competition, so on and so forth.
Cool, yeah, and keep in mind that all the speakers here come from like diverse backgrounds from all over the world, and they all united over one competition. They just went after it and like built some pretty awesome projects. So it's a very open community from what I've seen. They're doing some really awesome stuff. So if you guys want to get more involved, want to figure out how to connect with everybody here, now's the time. Just ask questions. So any panelists, Fabio, even me, I don't know how I can help you, but let's go. Or I could ask questions, or we can do it that way. Okay, so what was the first thing you guys did to find out about city design? So how were you first introduced into the community? If anyone wants to ask, I'll hand over Mike.
I think I read a blog post about Chinese Ethereum, and then went on Slack and met Fabio for the first time, and then he kind of pitched me the whole talk about City of Zion. So I think everything still kind of revolves around the chats, so just jump on Discord, because that's the easiest way to find us and to talk to us directly.
Yeah.
Cool. Another thing I'm really curious about is in startup and tech culture, hackathons are always a cool thing to do, but one thing I've noticed with the blockchain community is it's very decentralized all over the world. So do we have any plans to host any hackathons in the future? Is that an idea you're toying around with?
Yeah, sure. We started to do these meetups across the globe, so some of these people have been in meetups already. And we try to keep these meetups for Neo and COZ very technical, so they become like a hackathon, so people talk what they are doing and exchange ideas. It's not really to code at side, but we hope that we get to this point as soon as possible. But if you are a technical guy, you should go to these meetups. They are very technical. They are for the developers itself.
Cool, awesome. Does anyone have any last questions or anything right here?
I'm not a developer or anything like that, but I've been, investing in few good companies for like a year and a half now. And iMusify, I saw it like a week ago, and I actually made an account. And I would like to know a little bit more. What's your roadmap on that? Because it's kind of, I see like it's a beta, but I'm and what you're trying to achieve, something like SoundCloud, Spotify, and how do actually users get paid, and, just elaborate a little bit more on that.
Absolutely, that's a great question. So what you made an account on was our minimum viable product from the competition, which was a kind of rewarding mechanism that rewarded users in our IMU token for contributing to the platform, doing things like up and down voting content. So that is what our live platform is right now. What we're currently developing is expanding upon that product to create an all-inclusive ecosystem. So it's the distribution system in a platform like Spotify, so it'll allow listeners to share and take part and discover artists' work. And so that is the very basic foundation is a distribution and sharing platform. On top of that, there will be other uses like crowdfunding campaigns, curation for artists, payment retribution for artists. So what you see, which we submitted to the competition, was the first iteration in the first product, and what our platform launch will look like this summer will be a multiple use case scenario for this platform.
Are you organizing new competitions?
Game competition?
New.
Yeah, there's 2 competitions open. From City of Zion, registrations we should have open, but that one's happening. But you can register until 25 of February. And registration for us means submitting your MVP or proof of concept. There's also a competition running by NEW, not COZ, and this competition is up to the first week of March. So they are open. And after this, but I would say that people think that they missed it. There's only 1 month to development. You should have known 2 months ago. Start for this competition. If you do not win because you didn't have time, keep developing it because the ecosystem is booming and there will be other competitions after that.
So I think this opens up the questions for all of you guys, and I want Fabio, I think it'd be best for you to lead the discussion. If you could summarize in 12 months from now, in 1 or 2 sentences, what do you see your projects being like, or in a ideal world, I guess, you could summarize your project. How would you like to see that 12 months from now? The transaction rates and everything not being a factor, price not being a factor. Just basically 1 or 2 sentences summarizing what you see the world of Neo being like 12 months from now. For you, Fabio, City of Zion, what do you see City of Zion being like 12 months from now?
Okay, so I will try to not think about it, try to design it, right? But City of Zion will be a foundation for the development of the smart economy. So we truly believe in this idea of smart economy. It's putting back the reward where it's produced. So we want to reward these people that is building the smart economy. So City of Zion will be about empowering these guys, giving rewards, giving prices, and giving back to the not only developers. There's designers also. There's people that do media. So to give back to these people that build stuff. So City of Zion will be a foundation with real capital that actually sponsors the development of smart economy. And for the next 12 years, you're going to see professionalization on that. So Rio established a legal council that has some rules to follow on the foundation. And you're going to see contractors hiring engineers working on long-term projects from City of Zion, working together with you, things like that. So you see a lot more of these people, not only as volunteers, but as real, full-time, full-blow, immersive on building this land.
I can take this one for iMusify. 12 months down the road, we want to be the leader in implementing a decentralized infrastructure for the music economy on a global scale. So 12 months from now, we're hoping to have a vast user base we're gonna focus on targeting the middle level artists, the artists that have a basic following that are looking to grow. So 12 months from now, we hope to be a fully functioning economy with artists and fans and investors.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question.
I just wanted to follow that question before asking about information about the hackathons and developer competition. So apart from the cause competition, which is so far the very successful one, and it's coming out with a second, we also having hackathons and developer competitions in other regions, like in China, we partner with Microsoft. Fabi just mentioned that the hackathon is right now open for application registration, and the deadline is until end of March, I think. Yeah, you can check detailed information on the website, neo.org website, official website. And there are also other hackathons going on, like in Japan, we partner with QRC. That one is also going on, yeah. So you can keep following our official Twitter or official website to get more updated information on these competition and events.
Cool. Okay, so before we close out, just one final question. When all these people get home, they open up their laptop, they go on their phone and click through CoinMarketCap and quit, and then how can they learn more about City of Zion and how can they connect with you guys?
Yeah, so it's a broken record, right? Enter in cityofzion.io. There's a link there for Discord. So it's discord.cityofzion.io, but if you can remember cityofzion.io, there's a link there. Talk to us. You enter in the chat, people is friendly, and build. We are a community of builders, let's build it.
Cool, awesome. We'll give it up to the City of Zion competition. Cool. Thank you guys. Yeah, the community is really cool. I'd love to see it keep growing. And even if you don't have the ability to join, like there's always people in your network that are always looking to get more involved. So that being said, let's get it moving with our next speaker. He's a City of Zion Council member with a background in globally distributed system architectures, analytical project management, and statistical modeling. Some of his hobbies include craft beer, cheese, and organic distributed systems, and giving the hashtag market general night sweats. So give it up for Tyler Adams, the co-founder of City of Zion and Moonlight.
So yesterday there was a question to Fabio asking how to get in contact with developers, specifically with the City of Zion, but I think more generally in the ecosystem. And I think this project should help answer that question a little bit, since that's actually the question that we started receiving that kind of prompted the development of this project as a whole. Right? In City of Zion, we received a lot of requests for resources to contribute to their projects, and it's not always development requests, it's design requests also, or marketing requests, or even just networking requests. So that's really kind of what the Moonlight project is all about. So a little background on myself. My name's Tyler P. Adams. I'm not going to pronounce my username. If you've been in the community for a while, you'll see it on Reddit occasionally. Now on the Discord, I'm just Tyler. I'm a Moonlight co-founder, a City of Zion co-founder. My background's in systems engineering and project management. So,
the middle one, the big one.
Oh, I'm getting confused. So, everybody in industry has a dream job, right? And that's something that, initially when we were working on this project, collecting VOC, we really quickly narrowed in on, right? Everybody has a passion project, something they really want to work on. Unfortunately, that's not always what they get to work on, right? Occasionally, and actually very often, business needs conflict with what people actually want to work And what ends up happening, if you have a small team of maybe 4 or 5, which is very common, they're working together on a project. Well, the business needs change, right? Suddenly you need a project or a product that requires, skill set X, Y, and Z, and you actually have A, B, and C to complete the project. So you have a few different options, right? You can contract, right, which has a pretty significant overhead from an organizational standpoint. You can reorg if it's a very large change, even has a larger overhead, or you can take somebody from your team and you can kind of beg and plead, or from that side of the spectrum to effectively mandating that they work on a task for the project because that's what they have to do in their job. Unfortunately, what ends up happening when you do that is it pushes somebody on a career path or trajectory that they really don't want to be on. They're not going to be passionate, they're not going to be engaged in the tasks they're working on, right? There'll be large morale issues, right? And this is relatively common in the industry. On the other side of the spectrum, from a program management side of things, you're going to have issues as well because you're not fully staffing or optimizing your project. You have somebody that is not engaged and fully devoted to what they're working on. So you're going to see issues with project completion and success as well as quality in that completion of tasks in the system. Right? So there are many causes to this issue in industry. They range from changing business ecosystem, changing project needs and directions, funding, backfill and attrition issues. Somebody leaves, so another person has to take their place. And then also career growth, right? Some people will do this intentionally because they want the career stability and growth. However, they are still, in theory, not working on what they are really passionate about. So they're going to be less engaged, and the quality of their work is going to be significantly reduced. Ultimately, all of these issues are actually the cause of something called resource compartmentalization. In industry, you'll hear the term siloing, which is very common. Right? You have small teams that work only within those teams, work outside of those teams. That's pretty common in pretty much every space where there are knowledge workers. Right? And we spend a lot of resources reorganizing and restructuring companies to be able to meet the needs of the projects, right? So finding these kind of local optimizations that are always trying to deliver on a project when those goals of the business are actually always changing. So it's kind of this circular issue that's constantly happening in industry, right? These local optimizations within teams, we could identify a more global optimum. And that's kind of the goal of the Moonlight project, right? So what we're trying to build here is a decentralized workforce platform to really power the smart economy. But to do this, we can't just take the kind of the freelance activity or that mechanism to build something like this for industry, right? So freelancing works really well in industry when there's single tasks. However, you have a lot of situations where a project will require a lot more complexity or structure, right? And that actually becomes really difficult when the majority of your resources, actually like in COZ, are part-time, right? They're not full-time. So how do you do that in a project management system or situation where you're expecting FTE level capabilities? So all of your assumptions on your project are assuming somebody is working at least 8 hours a day, right? So to do that, we actually create a hybrid system where we take a lot of concepts from the gig economy, as well as a lot of concepts from industrial or professional project management, and merge them together to build one single platform. Right? So how do we do that? Well, at the low level, it actually starts with the blockchain, right? So one of the issues with building a platform that has this capability is actually the data set, right? So conventionally in this space, we have a lot of problems where all resumes are more or less subjective, right? When you go in and you want to hire somebody, you're effectively spending a lot of money and a lot of resources doing background checks and vetting people, right? It's very difficult to identify resources with a proven background and source of experience. So, and we support that in this ecosystem as well, which is really important for bootstrapping the project, right? So initially when people come into the platform, they can build out their resume, similarly to the way LinkedIn work, right? So people can come into the system, they can put their experience in, right, their credentials, etc. However, within the ecosystem, as tasks are completed, that content is registered onto the blockchain as a validated ledger that anybody can take a look at, right? To see, yes, this person can and has completed what they say they do. In addition to those tasks, we also log a number of other attributes, including the common peer review mechanic, but also we log, they're called estimations, right? Or in our system, they're called bids, right? Which is inverted from the freelancing mechanic that exists right now. It's more of a conventional project management space. So we're collecting all this data on the blockchain, right? And that data has an end goal in the system because we can actually leverage that clean data set to add a bunch of project complexity to scale out to large projects, which may take many, many years to complete, right? So to do this, we take the data and we build up a global task backlog. And when I say global, I mean in the global sense, right, a task backlog where developers can pull tasks from. But I also mean a global backlog in the sense that the tasks are not siloed to a team of 4 people. So here, global may be a company or an organization where they want to unbind all of their resources to be able to fully optimize who's working on what tasks, right? So by taking that data, we feed that into a matchmaking algorithm to help task resolvers identify tasks that they actually really want to work on and are interested in working on as well. And here I mentioned that bids are inverted from the conventional freelance dynamic. Conventionally speaking, you'll generally bid with a price, right? Now, the assumption there is that the person is full-time, right? They're going to work on the task full-time, and this is how much it's going to cost. And the issuer provides, they say, we need it by this time, right? In our system, the actual assumption is that people and most contributors in the system will be doing something called moonlighting, right? They'll be working for a few hours a day or in the evening after work. There will be some full-time contributors as well, which we're expecting. However, that's kind of the expectation here, right? So instead of providing a bid that relies on that assumption, we use the duration estimate instead, right? And that provides kind of this economy, right? So one other way to think about this would be as an exchange, right? However, instead of a currency-to-currency exchange, this is a currency-for-work exchange, right? Where the book is the tasks, and resolvers are going in and placing bids on those tasks, or limits, effectively. There's another actual really important piece of that duration estimate that goes into the system, right? So when people bid on a task, we're actually logging that information when they're assigned to the task as well, right? So then we can also take that data now that's coming from the marketplace, right, which is, as I mentioned, logged to the and we can add more complexity into the system, right, to account for this the situation where the majority of our resources on projects are actually part-time, right? So we can add something called analytical project tracking on top of this, right, where by taking the bid on a project as well as the historical data for how long and how accurate the bids actually have been in the past for specific tasks that the users completed, right, as well as the tasks they bid on, we can actually get a task-specific estimation for how long it's actually going to take to resolve. And that's user dependent as well, right? So let's say somebody's working for on a JavaScript project, for example, right? And they provide an estimate of 4 days to complete a task, right? Or 5 days, we'll say. So 40 FT bid on site, more specifically. They tend to underbid on their task, right? Maybe they bid under by 30%. It actually takes them 30% longer to complete a task, right? So we can take that data based on their historical information and mux that within the system. There'll be point estimates, right? As they start to aggregate data and develop and contribute in the ecosystem, those estimates get better and better. And that's actually something that we're hoping for active contributors, right, to actually improve on their work, right, where they'll be able to review this and they'll actually get improvement on their estimation accuracy as well. So in this scenario, right, you have 3 bidders on a project, right? As a program manager, I can go into the system and I can evaluate which group I want to work on the system based on my project needs, right? So we can actually build on top of that again by adding dependencies, right? And this is one of the big pieces that historically has been missing from the freelance space, but is very common in industry, right? So by adding dependencies into the system, we can build these complex project structures where you have tasks that are dependent on each other. What this also does, keep in mind when we're talking about this global backlog, is it provides the ability for people to very quickly bring in resources from outside of a company to contribute into a system, and they're already familiar with the platform, right? And they already have that experience built up in the system. So here's your network model, right? For a project with the muxed estimations for all the tasks, right? You can see we have 5 tasks on this project, and we have 1 bid on each task, and they all have a finish to start dependency. So what we end up with is a network model. What we can do with that is we can look at the task burn down, and we can project out what the result is of the project to get an expected completion distribution. So in this figure, you have a task burn down where the red line represents the actual task completion rate. If you guys are familiar with the task burn down, or a tornado plot in EVM, current value management, it's pretty similar to that, right? Where on the y-axis you have the original total project task value. The red line represents the actual or historical, right? And then what we're doing is we're running a network simulation on the data to project out what the expected impact of the project timeline is based on your selections in the system. So in this scenario, for example, you would be running what-if scenarios against 3 bidders on a task to see how that impacts your actual project completion rate or duration over time, in the future. This is particularly valuable if you're looking at ramping a supply line, right, or manufacturing, right, where you want to link that up. If you are late on the project, then you have your lines are stalled effectively; they're stuck. And if you're early, then you're missing your time to market. So as far as project roadmap is concerned, I'm not going to provide a whole lot of details on this until we get our architecture fully defined, and our work breakdown structure completed. Right? I think that's pretty fair. We want to provide realistic expectations of the project completion. So currently, you can see we're about to finish this up. That's the last bullet point, right? We have 2 documents that are out on our website currently, as well as the presentation in Amsterdam that Michael DeWalt presented a few weeks ago. And then this is the presentation right now in San Francisco. In late Q1, we'll have a white paper available, which will go into the extended platform details. You can expect a lot more content around the topics that are proposed and discussed in the first 2 articles and announcements that are on our website, and they're also available on Neo News Today as well. We'll also be going into the token mechanics. In the first article, we present a concept That will be heavily refined in the white paper as well. We'll also go into gated crowdfunding, which is something that becomes enabled by this platform, right? A system where you can have multiple gates within the ecosystem for token sales, where funding is unlocked based on public appeal or approval from the issuer on those projects. We'll also have token sale details, and as I mentioned, a detailed project roadmap, which will be available then, since at that point in time we'll also have a detailed work breakdown structure. In Q2, we're looking at a public token sale, and you can register for updates or find more details at moonlight.io. You can also contact me directly. This is my email address, or you can also message me on Reddit if you can remember my username, which was available earlier. You can also find me on Discord. My name is usually always glowing green. Thank you.
Give it up for Tyler, that was awesome. So our next speaker is a developer at City of Zion. He's the creator of the NeoDApp Starter Kit. He's a co-founder and full-stack developer at Videato. The first real-world solution integrating with his VPT network. He's a founder and lead pastor.
All right, guys, I gotta go charge my phone for a little bit. All right, let's see. Right now we're at the BDT, the decentralized render farm. I really actually want to do that, but I'm on 7%. So I'm gonna go into this back room and chat with you guys for a few minutes while my phone charges. Because if my phone ends up dying, it's gonna take a minute before I can turn it back on. So I don't want that to happen. So just just kick with me for a good 10-15 minutes. I got one of them fast chargers, so my phone charges pretty fast. Just gonna get it up to a little like 25-30%. You guys want the ZZpin, right? They're right here. I'll talk to them after I charge up.
So today I'm going to present 3D Network, which is a decentralized
Oops, sorry about that.
So before we get into everything, I'm going to explain a bit about rendering. Rendering is the process of working project. Like this is
We're talking about the render farm. Alright.
In After Effects, you have your rendering process. You click the render button, you have your project, you render, and then you have to resolve. And so it's a couple hours to do that. And then you have a render farm, which is a collection of machines designated.
All right, and we got power. All right. So yeah, they're talking about the BDTs, talking about their render farm, the centralized render farm. I don't know how that really competes with like Golem or what's that other supercomputer? It's Golem and I can't remember the name of it. Help me out. Anyway, looks pretty cool.
And just to give you an idea,
can you guys hear it? If you guys can hear it, then I guess that's all that matters. I can just let it charge while you guys tune in. But pretty sure where's the itinerary? I'm gonna get the itinerary real quick. Oh, I forgot I had a donut. Hells yeah. All right, let me go get a itinerary real quick. Port don't really reach.
Social media, and that makes it very sensitive to user.
Let's see if I can put my phone in the chair. And I'm gonna put my phone in this chair while you can watch it, and I'll go get a itinerary.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. How long would you think? 1.5 hours. How many? 4 hours? Yeah, it's 2 to 5 hours. That's really long time. Also, the machine is very more expensive. Right, so the Finiato, I wanted to take with under 20 minutes. So that is way faster. That is 800% faster. So obviously the channels already love us. We're already pretty close data. It's already being used by some industry users at the time. Now, we ran into a problem with the recent problem. The software that we use for our backend user charges one license per server. It changed that model to one license per 4 CPUs. Generally, render nodes, they don't use 4 CPUs. These not us. We use 64 CPUs. So we no longer pay one license per server. We now pay 8 licenses per server. This is charged by the hour, so that was a big increase. So the solution to this problem is to no longer connect Finiato directly to cloud, but to decentralize the rendering. But then a decentralized render farm, which you call it, and not only apply to Finiato, it could be made modular and it could be added to plugins to any. So that solution, decentralized function, that is Finiato. So Finiato this can apply to a whole bunch of animation, all the good stuff. And this is what it would look like. Unity network connects clients through applications and APIs to render nodes. And what render nodes are render functions for other machines capable of rendering. To give you a better idea, clients connect to applications, the applications communicate with render nodes through the synchronous protocol on Neo with smart contracts, and then the render nodes return inside. It can also connect to other platforms next to those platforms to expand their market, liquidity, etc. And what I like about this model is when you look at the client and the application, this is what the end user sees. They don't need to know that they're connected to the whole flora of decentralization and blockchain. Clients don't care about that. They just want to use it. So apps and clients just connect like any other application. They can use any existing payments, anything the app wants to do, as long as the application connects with Unity. So people ask me how would you define the Unity network? How would you compare it to this service or that service? And I always bring up a service that people don't generally think of when I talk about this protocols, and that is Loopring. You guys seen the Loopring presentation?
All right, guys. Sorry about that. So, do you guys want to?
Loopring. Some of the features of Loopring, it's a lot more. But
you guys want to go talk to Zpin?
It's a decentralized.
I ran into them on the way. They agreed to do a little 60-second little clip if you guys want to.
Now, with that in mind, think of VDT Network. VDT Network is a global protocol.
Hash Puppies is up next.
Oh, is it stuck? I think it's stuck. Oh, we're one behind. I see. Okay. There we go. So that's what I was talking about. All right, so let's move on to some features that I'd like to introduce today. I'll keep it simple. This is a flowchart. It shows the rendering process. It'll be in the white paper. You'll be able to take a closer look. So let's move on to another feature, modularity. And with that, before I go into that, I'd like to show a video on selecting the template. Let's run the video with Videato. First, click Create Video. You can upload your own background image or select one from the royalty-free image directory.
The next presentation is right after this. I'm thinking like 2 minutes, and that's Hash Puppies.
You can adjust the way the image shows as your video's background by dragging and zooming it. Select your audio file. Your video's information, such as artist and title, will be automatically filled in by Videato. Customize your YouTube upload details, such as video title, description, and tags. Once you hit create, the video will start rendering on Videato's cloud platform and upload it to your YouTube channel within minutes. The render is now complete. Here's a part of the resulting video. Alright, so fun fact, the first 3 songs I used to be a music producer, those were I use those all of them. Alright, so what you just saw was
I think the IoT thing was pretty cool.
And now I'll show you how that will interconnect with PBT network. So Videato, basically, the user generates or uses a configuration, they enter details, and then Videato, the application, uses that data to create a task object. It's something that will go into PBT network. It's just a very simple, basic idea of it. So, to demonstrate, a client, an end user, will connect to an application such as Videato. Videato generates, or an application generates, a render object, a task object, or PBT network.
Alright, I'm about to.
Now with that, PBT code.
I got a few more percentage. I might be able, I should be able to last about lunchtime. So, and then on lunchtime I'll just let it finish up. So I'm about to head back over.
Render nodes are incentivized.
I'm gonna put the phone back down for a second and get my stuff together.
And then the incentive is sent back, or the PBT network sends back the end result to the application. So that's kind of the process of an application, the user interacting with an application interacting with PBT network. So another feature I want to talk about is trust. Trust is obviously very important in a rendering economy. And by trust, I mean trust for all parties. And by trust for all parties, I mean that private material remains private. You know, it's like if you have a 3D model or animation, for example, send it to some random render node, and then the render node just downloads the content and gives it to. Then you suddenly find your 3D model sitting in the background of a Hollywood animation. And you're like, hey, I made this. The second part is you want to assure a maximum success rate. You can have a verification process, but a decentralized one will be, slow. You have to verify different things, and it would only take slow expenses. So you just want the success rate to be maximized from the beginning. And that brings me to you have to have the ability to handle disputes effectively. Something's wrong, you want both parties.
All right, let's head back.
Effectively, without instantly heading to,
Excuse me?
I wish I could interview you.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Token sale details, we'll have an actual token sale. Exchange listings, we'll release application and API modules, frameworks, so applications and render nodes can be built. We'll have a release for private net. We'll build our own physical render farm, which we'll use to kickstart new applications and render companies, etc. We'll have a testnet beta release, a public net release, there we go, render farm for partners, and we'll have a Videato public release, which is for the Videato application, which is currently in closed beta. So that's kind of the things that we have upcoming next. Then we have the render farm. We'll build our own physical render farm, which we'll use to kickstart integration and assure quality for new partners, applications, and clients. So, to summarize, VDT Network is an open protocol. It is a decentralized exchange. It allows for automated rendering. It uses digital identity for trust. It offers APIs, modules, and frameworks. And there's a 1% incentive token burn to assure proper use of the decentralized render economy. So that is VDT Network. Thank you. So you can go to vdt.network. You can sign up to the newsletter there if you want to hear all the news. You can follow VDT_network on Twitter. And I'm not sure if we have time for questions. Maybe one. Hold on. So you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm Dean Press. And we're also looking for additional team members. If you think you have anything of value to add, then you can contact me after DevCon or contact me by Twitter or email contact@vdt.network, and we'll get back to everyone. Thank you.
Cool. All right, next up we have the team we previously saw, Shane Mann and Joe Stewart. It's the CEO and CTO of Splice, a blockchain development consultancy focused on NEO. They're both City of Zion members. So please help me welcoming to the stage Shane Mann and Joe Stewart, founders of Hash Puppies, a virtual pet trading and breeding game.
All right, can you, so our microphones are still working now. We've had them on the entire time. Test. Yeah. All right, we have the clicker. Let's get the clicker. I believe it's the green button. Oh, it is. You're right. Are we queued up yet? Maybe not. 1 minute. Let's go. There we go. Awesome. All right, this is Hash Puppies. So we already told you who we are in the last presentation. We wanted to let you know that there's more of us here actually, the team members that are, we've brought on board just to work on this game, but they're actual Splice employees now. So also here in the room we have Lori, Annie, and Crystal, who are Kenmaya, Selkie, and Desert Rat, if you've been out in our Discord. They're pivotal to the game, and not only that, they also have some limited edition Hash Puppy stickers on them. If you would like one, just find them. They're over here wearing the Hash Puppy t-shirts. Just come up to them and say, hey, I'd like a sticker, or maybe I'd like more than one sticker, and let us know, hey, which sticker is your favorite, because we've made multiple ones just with the artwork that we've done so far, and getting an idea of what people are expecting and maybe like about what we're working on here. So what is Hash Puppies? So this is a blockchain game. It's in development. We haven't finished it yet. People have had, I guess, a lot of games coming out on the Ethereum blockchain. Seems like every other day you hear about a new game on the Ethereum blockchain, which I don't know how game-like they are. There's certainly some element of that. But what we want to do with Hash Puppies is be different. Neo is a different kind of blockchain than Ethereum. It's better, and we want our game to be better than any game on the Ethereum blockchain. So we plan to have interactive gameplay, actual graphical game like you might expect. We're still going to incorporate some of the ideas like being able to trade your pets, having them represented by a non-fungible token, which we have to develop actually a non-fungible token standard for Neo. So we're going to do that as part of the game and contribute to the community so that if anybody else might have use for a non-fungible token for games or other reasons, that standard will be out there and people can make use of that and the example code that we built for that.
Well, that's also become a little bit of a community effort with the City of Zion.
Yes, we've actually got an effort going forward to with the other City of Zion members to work together on the standard. It's not just us. We're part of this larger project, and we're trying to get everybody's input on it and just contribute in the way that we can. There's going to be a genetic algorithm and breeding system to it. You might have be familiar with the whole CryptoKitties idea where you take a pet, you breed it with another pet, you get a third pet, and it has some different characteristics that may be more or less rare. We're definitely looking at implementing that feature. But beyond that, we want to also have the ability to accessorize. You can't do much with a CryptoKitty except for look at it. But we would like to have people be able to interact with their pet, buy add-on items, and maybe even grooming, and go beyond what the traditional games are. So that is, in a nutshell, what Hash Puppies is. I want to tell you that it is not going to be a CryptoKitties clone or another one of these other 10 or so now CryptoKitties clones that just seem to be a thinly veiled Ponzi scheme that has pictures representing them, and for some reason it's I guess useful to or valuable to own one of these pictures. But that doesn't seem very fun to us. So we're definitely not going to go down that route, and we're not going to just be yet another one of those type of games. And then it's also definitely not related to weed culture. There's Hash Puppies kind of get a little snicker from some people that may have dabbled in that area before. It's not related to that at all. Obviously, hashing has to do with blockchain in some sense. There's also hashtags. Nobody ever thinks about that as being related. So it's actually based on something completely different. If you're we're from the southern U.S., so this is something that's maybe a more familiar word to us. It's actually a play on Hush Puppies. You want to tell us about Hush Puppies, Shane?
Yeah, they're basically fried bread, fried cornmeal. Sometimes you'll find maybe other tasty treats inside. I guess the other thing is hash is, from what I understand, it's from the ancient Hashishim. I think they use hash to drug people and that's where the word assassin came from. Not that we're going to assassinate puppies, but just a little entomology there.
Definitely not.
Definitely not assassinating.
Yeah, so we actually started, we thought of the name and oh, that's kind of, cool play on words, but didn't realize, how hush puppies as a food item really didn't translate outside of the region as much, and especially when we talk to people in Europe, they're like, I don't understand, what is a hush puppy? So we had to explain it a little bit.
Well, there's also a shoe, right?
Yeah, there's also a hush puppy brand shoe, and some people are like, oh yeah, they're named after the shoe. No? Right. So, it's fun. So our current roadmap, we just started this in December. We basically were inspired when we learned about, CryptoKitties basically taking down the Ethereum blockchain, with all of its, I think it wasn't an outrageous amount of traffic. And, the blockchain should be able to handle that many transactions per second, but Ethereum wasn't apparently. And we said, well, we know that Neo can, just based on our experience looking at the ICOs that have come out and all of the transactions that were done during those ICOs. In the first few minutes, people minting tokens for the ICO, we knew it could handle far more transactions per second than Neo than Ethereum, and that was proven. So we felt pretty confident that this would be the ideal platform for a game of this sort. So we started out with the intention of we would have a pre-sale and do some sort of way for people to get in early on the game, and then when the actual release happens, they can trade their tokens for the actual non-fungible tokens. So getting into to look at the legal regulations and how those are panning out around ICOs, and having to do KYC and AML checks on people, or tell people in the U.S. and China that you're not allowed to participate. It just seemed really stupid when we're talking about virtual puppies on the blockchain. So we decided to not go that route. We actually did the math and figured out we'd be able to fund the game ourselves. So that's what we did. But we still wanted to be able to reward the community in a way. So we decided that we would just create a token that could be exchanged later. We called it Redeemable Hash Puppy Token, RHT, and we would just airdrop it. Now, we couldn't airdrop it to everybody. There's a huge amount of Neo addresses that have been created since the inception of the blockchain, and having to give out 500,000 puppies isn't really, it's not really scalable. So we had to make a decision. Well, how are we going to distribute these tokens? And we went with a route, that some people might, not necessarily agree with, but we'll talk about that a little bit more about how we went about it. But beyond that, we're going to get, I think, Neolink released into beta, like we talked about in our earlier talk today. We want to have a playable game on the test net that people can beta, and then get that out there and on the main net and have it a playable game, and then maybe even take it to the mobile space and be able to, have a full-featured game on every platform. That's our goal, anyway. So the airdrop, as far as I know, is the first token airdrop on the Neo blockchain, where somebody made a smart contract and then proceeded to hand out the tokens. So we made a decision that we would take a snapshot of the blockchain on Christmas Eve, and we would say, okay, anybody that had a transaction on the blockchain between the time we announced the game and Christmas Eve would potentially be qualified to receive a redeemable hash puppy token if they held between 1 and 99 Neo. So basically, we're looking for people that are a little bit on the smaller side of the scale, not whales, but people that made a modest investment. And our goal with this was one, to reward people that maybe just got into Neo just because they heard about our game announcement, because we figured that'd probably be the people that were included in that batch and be the easiest to overlap with. And then our other thinking was that getting basically this interest built up among smaller players that would come in and tell their friends and family, hey, I heard about this new thing called Neo, that would build the ecosystem as well. If we just hand out Neo to everybody, or we chose, let's take the people that have been in Neo the longest, or people that have the most Neo, and give them the Neo. Well, they've already told their friends and family about Neo, and it's probably not going to go as far as it was on the software. So we did get a little bit of, I guess, negative feedback, from people that, I had 100 Neo and I missed out. Well, the good news is that you're actually not left out. We're actually doing something to benefit you as well. Aside from the little challenge that we issued in our earlier talk, where we're supposed to have some people invoking the contract right now, my badge is flashing, so I'm waiting for some invocations here. People need to get on that and invoke some contracts and win some RHT.
I know there were some technical issues earlier. One guy was waiting for his badge or his wallet to sync, so maybe we can extend the...
Yeah, you might need your wallet to be completely synced so that you have a current transaction there when you send your gas. And the other thing is that for this airdrop, we did have to write a series of scripts to not just a smart contract that had the airdrop feature where you mint tokens in batches instead of one by one, but also back in to take the snapshot of addresses and feed that into the smart contract and mint them over and over again over the course of several hours or days or how many you want to do. So we've got that code, and we've got our experience around that. So if you are planning to do an airdrop and you want to do that, talk to us. We can give you our code and we can tell you what we did and tell you about some pitfalls on it and maybe help you out. So yeah, get in touch with us if you're going to do that. So, yeah, community rewards. We're going to do more giveaways of tokens. We've had people come into our Discord and they're giving us ideas for gameplay. They're helping us moderate the Discord, or just giving us general creative input, or telling us, feedback on, the logo, or feedback on, the latest puppy design or whatever. So we've already been rewarding those people on our Discord. So if you want to join the Discord and, get a hash puppy, that's really all you have to do. Just come and contribute. And there's going to be more announcements of rewards, contests, things like that as we progress towards the release of the game. So there's going to be an opportunity for everybody. So if you missed out on the airdrop, you really haven't missed out. Just come and join the community, and you have a shot. So how do you join the community? Well, we have Facebook, we have Reddit, we have the Discord, like I said, and Twitter. So follow us on all those places. You're going to get all of the announcements that are going out. And we have a mailing list as well. If you go to the website, which is hashpuppy.es, you're going to be able to join that as well. And so there's all these ways you can keep in touch with us and learn about whatever the latest reward is going to be announced. We've been receiving a number of questions around the game in the Discord and on the mailing list. So what we're doing is basically compiling a frequently asked questions document. There's actually a channel in our Discord specifically devoted to these questions. So these are the most common ones we've got. How much is the hash puppy going to be worth? So people are like, well, I know CryptoKitties are gone for thousands and thousands of dollars. Is that going to be the same thing with hash puppy? Our goal is to make this a affordable game to play. We want to actually have players enjoying a game rather than investors looking to just profit off of it, right? So we're actually targeting a far lower price. Now we haven't decided what that price is, but we just want to say we want it to be affordable. We want anybody to be able to play it, so you can extrapolate from there, I think. Some people had their Neo kind of fulfilled the requirements of the airdrop, but they had their tokens on an exchange instead of in a wallet. Unfortunately, there's no real good way to airdrop tokens to somebody who has their address on an exchange. That address really isn't yours, it's the exchange's wallet. So maybe the exchange got some tokens and they kept the balances separated, but they might have had them all in a big hot wallet and you really have no way of knowing. So unfortunately, we couldn't reward people that met that criteria otherwise outside of the exchange. And then the redemption process, we're going to build in, we've already built into the contract RHT a redeem function that will be invoked by our non-fungible contract. So then you'll be able to come in, you'll be able to trade one of the fungible tokens, that are just, a number basically for a non-fungible token, which means it's going to have a unique genetic code, it's going to have properties that are carried with it, and then from that point forward, you can trade it, and those properties will be carried to the next person that owns it. So we want to engage everybody in here. Like I said, any questions, suggestions, and feedback you have, maybe on potential gameplay ideas, etc., get into our Discord and go to our suggestion box channel. And that's a great place to just leave your ideas. And again, this is something that we're going to help reward the community that's helping us. So the next thing that we have here, we actually have a little video that has the initial first stages of our design. It's for the menuing system. It doesn't show any actual gameplay yet, but we're actually going to give you a kind of a sneak peek of the artwork and the design and where we're going with the ideas around that. So we play that video now. So the menuing system is going to take you between the different realms or worlds that you're going to have interaction in. Obviously, you're going to start out at home. The puppy's going to live in a place where you're going to be able to play with them. And that'll be your home base for most everything. Beyond that, we're going to have dog houses. A lot of the idea of having kennels, but this is our concept around that. And that's going to be something that you use, not just to keep your puppy happy, but also might be required actually for the breeding process. And it might be something where it's actual virtual property that can be invested in by another party. Like I said, there's going to be add-on items, so we're going to have a store where you can go in, you can buy a collar, you can buy an outfit or a hat or sunglasses for your pet. Anything that we think of, and those might also be virtual items represented by tokens that might also be connected to your main Hash Puppy token that can be traded. And then there'll be the park. Obviously, you want to take your puppy. You want to keep your puppy happy in this game because they're not going to breed unless they're happy. If you don't play with them, you don't interact with them, then they're just going to sit around and not do much. So we want to make it so that you actually have to take care of them and care for them and make it a fun game in that manner. So that's our demo. So hats off to our team that's really just plugging away. The game's being developed in Unity, and so we've already got kind of that C# pedigree, that goes hand in hand with Neo. So we're really excited about the possibilities around that. So I think that we are near the end, right? Yeah. Okay. So thanks. Do we have any questions? Great. Questions? Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hi, it's me again, that render guy. I wanted to point out there's going to be a workshop today, and the time changed from what's on the schedule. So it's from 3 to 5. I'll be giving a workshop on building web applications with Neo smart contracts. It's going to be in the breakout room, which is on the same floor here, not in the GitHub office. You're going to stand in front of a closed door if you go there. So don't go there, go stay here. All right. Yeah. So up next, we have a project which I'm a big fan of. I'm a real big fan of, making development on Neo easier. And that's exactly what Alex here is doing with Neo 1. So give it up for Alex with Neo 1.
Neo 1. The one. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm Alex. Thanks for the introduction. As he said, I'm actually founder of NeoTracker, and I'm here to talk to you today about a new project that I've been working on called Neo 1. So just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to go over the problem space, what it is that we're trying to solve with Neo 1, and then talk about the solution, which is Neo 1, and finally talk more about the timeline. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So The high-level overview of the problem space is that smart contract development on Neo is hard. We're in the very early days of Neo. There's not a lot of frameworks out there, not a lot of tools to really help you develop a smart contract as compared to other platforms like Ethereum. Some of the things that make this hard is painful setup. The initial setup is tedious and painful. For those of you that went to the workshop last night, and maybe you'll see today at the workshop, sometimes setting up, just getting your initial environment set up is hard. The cross-platform support is lacking. Some things work on Mac, some things work on Linux, some things work on Windows, and you kind of just have to try it out and see which platform it's actually going to work on. Projects like Neo Private Net, Docker, and NeoPython help solve part of this burden, but not entirely. So with Neo Private Net Docker, you can set up a private net with a Docker container that assumes knowledge of Docker. And it also has a few extra steps that are required to kind of get your wallet actually set up and link it to Neo GUI or however else you're going to develop your smart contract. Another pain point is the general software fabrication. There's a myriad of tools to learn how to use NeoPython, Docker, Neo Private Net Docker, Neon.js, all sorts of different tools with all their own documentation in different parts of the web. And it's just hard to know what is the best thing to use at any point in the development lifecycle. Each smart contract has their own set of tools and build chain. Kind of going back to this myriad of tools. Once you decided I'm going to write my smart contract in Python, you have to go figure out, okay, I need to find NeoBoa and download that, then compile, and then deploy that smart contract using NeoPython. But now if I want to go do C#, I have a whole different set of tools that I need to learn how to use and become fluent with to develop and deploy a smart contract. And another issue that is difficult to test if your smart contract will work with existing applications like NeoTracker and Neon. The general development flow today for people that are launching ICOs is they basically just reach out to me and say, hey, I put my thing on the testnet. Can you try to make sure it works with NeoTracker? And this is just not scalable and something that we want to help improve with Neo 1. Another issue is there's just a slow ramp up. There's a deep knowledge requirements for developing the Neo blockchain. You have to understand how the blockchain works, what an unspent transaction input output is. If you're doing transfers, you have to understand how to build the correct invocation to actually have a smart contract be invoked. It just generally just requires a lot of knowledge. And this knowledge is furthermore fragmented across many different places across the web. I was talking to someone yesterday about this, and they were saying how when they were trying to get set up, they basically had to go look and read all the documentation across the entire web to find little slivers of important information they were looking for throughout, that's just kind of scattered throughout all the documentation. Another issue is that there's just some domain-specific knowledge required. As we alluded to a bit yesterday in the panel that Thomas and others were giving about smart contract development, that implementing smart contracts has numerous gotchas, right? It's probably better to describe it as saying you're using a Python-like syntax, because you have to understand what are the limitations of Python. You can't just write arbitrary Python code or C# code. So now that we kind of have an idea of like what the problem space is, what Neo 1 is trying to solve, let's talk about what Neo 1 is. So Neo 1 is, the goal is to be the one SDK for developing Neo blockchain solutions easily, effectively, and quickly. And the way that we do that is by offering painless setup. The first step of that painless setup is network management. With a single command, you can have a private net set up locally that has a master wallet set up with plenty of Neo and gas to play with, and it all just happens in one command cross-platform. Another feature that we have with Neo 1 is this concept of simulations. Basically, simulations are a way to run a single command and have it either bootstrap an entire React app for you by deploying setting up a private network, setting up the wallet with the Neo and gas, compiling and deploying a smart contract, copying a template over to like a React template or a tutorial template over into a new folder for you. And basically, setting it in 5 minutes or less, honestly under about a minute, you'll basically have a hello world smart contract running with just one command. Another pillar of of Neo 1 is to provide a delightful experience, right? We want to have smart contract development be as easy as possible. One of the things that you can do with Neo 1 is you can develop in C#, Python, or TypeScript, and using just the same tool chain, just the same set of commands, you can compile smart contracts in C#, Python, or TypeScript. Another pain point that was mentioned yesterday in the panel was about testing smart contracts. We also have a module for making it really easy to automatically unit test your smart contracts that works for all C#, Python, and TypeScript smart contracts. Effectively, what you do is you use the client APIs, you write unit tests like you would for any programming language, and you can verify that your smart contract is working as expected. Debugging. So we are also working on an integrated debugger experience so that you can set breakpoints in your code and debug your smart contracts just as you would normal programs. We also, if you're not a huge debugger fan and you just like using print statements to debug your smart contracts, we'll support that as well to make it really easy for you to invoke your smart contract and then see the output, your debugging output directly in your terminal. Another pillar is just really making smart contracts be human-friendly. So they are really designed, so we are working on a TypeScript compiler that will make it, developing smart contracts look and feel like programming a normal TypeScript program. You'll define a class with some public methods on it. Those public methods will just automatically become the functions of your smart contract, and it all just works as if you're writing a normal program. The client APIs themselves will be human-friendly as well. They provide a high-level set of APIs for things like transferring from an address to an address that abstracts away all of the underlying details of like what an unspent transaction input-output is, how a change address works. They also provide with deep integration with TypeScript so that your smart contract functions can just be invoked as if they're normal functions from the front end. You don't have to worry about generating a script that will invoke your smart contract with very Neo-specific knowledge. You just sort of invoke a function as you normally would, and behind the scenes, the magic of Neo 1 happens and invokes it automatically for you. Another feature is that we will be integrating directly with VS Code and Atom. So if you're not a huge command line interface fan, you can access all the power of Neo 1 directly from within your editor. We'll also have the debugger integrated as well. So it'll be truly just like a truly seamless experience where you can debug your smart contract code directly from your editor. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Neo 1 plugins. So the entire architecture of Neo 1 is designed around plugins, networks, wallets, they're all plugins. One thing that we are going to add in the future is a Neo Tracker plugin so that you can use a full instance of Neo Tracker pointed at your private network to debug your smart contracts, to investigate what's happening in your private network, all with one command directly from Neo 1. So the revolution starts here for smart contract development on Neo. And if you want to try it out, we have an early version available. It requires Node 8.9, just one command, npm install -g at neo1/CLI, and then run neo1 go to get started. What's our timeline look like? So a lot of what we talked about today is aspirational, it's visionary. A lot of it is not quite implemented right now. In about 2 weeks, we will have a version 1 beta available that will deliver on the promise of, basically if you're developing a decentralized app, all you have to do is write the smart contract code and your actual decentralized app code. And everything else in between that is a lot of tedious, painful, requires deep knowledge requirements will be handled automatically for you. This initial version will only work with the TypeScript compiler for that full experience, but later on we will also expand it to Python and C#. Soon afterwards, about 2 weeks after the beta, we will release version 1. The difference between version 1 and the beta is that while beta we will consider to be production ready, between different versions of the beta, we will potentially be making breaking API changes, just so you're aware based on feedback from the community. Once version 1 is released, you can consider the APIs to be stable and it's truly ready for production use, and you can be sure that upgrading between minor versions will not break your app. Beyond that is when we start to, we have sort of that base layer, that initial promise delivered to you, and beyond that is when we start adding more of the really nice features like the NeoTracker plugin, the integrated debugger, things like that, and we will prioritize basically based on feedback from the community on what features are most important. In the long term, we will have everything implemented, but if you have interest in a particular feature set, please come talk to us and let us know. And with that, I will close this out by saying that you can go to our website, neo1.io. Right now it's just a splash page. We'll be refreshing it in a few days here. But if you're interested in Neo1, please follow us on Twitter. You can find the links at neo1.io. Join us on Discord. Give us a star on GitHub. Show your support. We'll be around here, probably around in the breakout room. We'll also be here during Dean's workshop in the afternoon. We have swag. If you want to grab a Neo1 t-shirt or stickers, come talk to us. We'll be in the breakout room during the workshop, and we'll also be in the overflow room directly after this talk and during lunch if you want to pick up a t-shirt or stickers. And if you want to, and finally, if you want to email us, just contact@neo1.io. That's a good way to get in direct contact, or Discord and Twitter.
I gotta call Charles on lunch.
With that, I'll take
About the whole scenario? Or?
Well, we're gonna talk about it, but it's mostly giving a recap of what I'm
Yeah, I want to get on that call with you, okay?
Other language support, in terms of, so we don't currently have plans. So the deal with the languages is that, so I mentioned that the TypeScript support would be the first, like, sort of first-class language on Neo1, right? It gives a really full end-to-end experience. After that, we're probably going to work with Python because it's popular to bring it up to, you know, have the feature set that we need it to have in order to have that first-class support. From there, it really depends on the community demand. Of course, we're an open source project, so if anybody wants to contribute languages, we're happy to have contributions be made. As I mentioned, it's a plugin-oriented architecture, so you don't even need to wait to, like, you know, have us approve changes. You can just add a new compiler, there's a well-defined interface. So as long as you know how to implement that interface, once you implement that interface, like, it'll just work with the rest of Neo1. You don't need any approval from anybody or anything like that. The team, yeah. So I am, so I founded NeoTracker. I have a partner, Alex, who's over here. Raise your hand. He will mostly be working on NeoTracker, but he'll be also been helping me with Neo1. But right now it's just the two of us. And so on that note, if you are interested in joining us and helping, a great way to kind of get to know us and have us get to know you is to contribute on GitHub. We are hiring, but a good way for us to kind of get to know you is to contribute. So if there's any developers interested in projects like this, working on Neo1 or working on NeoTracker, please get in contact, come contribute on GitHub. We'll also be, on that note, open sourcing NeoTracker soon, so if Neo1 is not your cup of tea, but NeoTracker is, you can also contribute there, and that's a great way to kind of get to know us and us get to know you. I think that's good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Wake up.
Our next speaker is the Neo in-house consultant focused on compliance as well as English and Japanese outreach efforts. The theme of this talk is compliance and the sustainable growth of the Neo ecosystem. He graduated Harvard in 2016, so please welcome to the stage, Miles Graham.
I should have brought more for Kentucky. I got to
Hey everyone, great to see you all here today. As I was getting ready for this presentation, I was hearing that there was a lot of hype, that people were really just couldn't wait for me to get up on stage and start speaking, and they were just so excited. And then I thought about it a little, and I realized it was all just because I'm the last speaker before lunch. But don't worry, I came prepared. and I'm about to do a live token airdrop.
Whoa,
So here are my tokens, and here's the airdrop.
Hilarious. That's hilarious.
So take this as kind of a shot in the arm while you wait for lunch. Okay, here you go. And I was thinking kind of about the name, and I thought maybe I would call it the payday token, or alternatively I could call it the 100 grand.
Does he keep when you want it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I like the Reese's
All right.
Pieces. Cool.
Okay, now to business.
All right.
So,
Woo!
I'm Miles Graham, as I was kindly introduced. I'm a NEO Global Regulatory Affairs Officer, consultant. I work on all sorts of different stuff. I basically have two jobs at NEO. First off, to build the global NEO community. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing meetups all around the world. We want to work with folks, developers especially, to move us toward the smart economy that's more interconnected, that is more trustworthy, or as we like to say, trustless, and which is more efficient than the one we have today. And then related to that, I also work to make sure that we're keeping up with all the regulatory developments, all the compliance-related issues that you need to think about when you're overseeing a blockchain cryptocurrency-related venture or project. And we also want to make sure the community is aware of all those issues so that no one gets on the wrong side of the law, and so that people can think about all these issues before they become problems. We think that compliant growth is sustainable growth, and so we want to make sure that NEO sustains the amazing progress we've seen so far for many years to come. All right, so sorry, there's my NEO Global Vision slide. And then today I'm going to talk and kind of lay out first the importance of focusing on legal and compliance issues in the blockchain-related space, and then what makes them complicated to conceptualize and think about. And then I'll move into announce an exciting new project that NEO is working on that will hopefully help the community and lawyers connect with each other, and also give the community kind of a jump start when new projects are thinking about incorporating, or when new projects are thinking about how they're actually going to deal with all the legal issues that arise when you're doing a token sale and you're setting up a blockchain project. So first, just zooming out, what are the key characteristics of the current cryptocurrency blockchain legal space? The biggest one, I think, is that it's no longer the Wild West, or that it's fast no longer becoming the Wild West. The sheriff is now in town, meaning that governments are very much focused on cryptocurrency and blockchain. They're devoting a lot of resources to it, and they are going to make sure that no one gets away with anything that you couldn't usually get away with. And there's a lot of examples of that. One of the best was an op-ed that the SEC and CFTC chairman co-authored in the Wall Street Journal last week. And they basically said that we see cryptocurrency and blockchain, we're watching it very closely, so they're watching everyone in this room, all the developers who are presenting, and they're not going to let anyone get away with it. And there are a lot of other examples of that in other countries around the world. South Korea, for example, last week as well, announced that it is putting together an agency exclusively focused on cryptocurrency, blockchain-related legislation and enforcement. And all of that followed kind of on the heels this past year, you may have seen, of a number of arrests of folks who were involved in cryptocurrency blockchain here in the US, a number of warnings to investors, and kind of mirror efforts around the world. So basically, on the individual side, the consequences are really serious if anything goes wrong with your token sale or your project, and you're not going to get away with it. But then on kind of the institutional side, why is NEO, the project itself, thinking about compliance and the law so much? And that's because if a project gets a bad reputation and in its relationship, or regarding its relationship to the law, then that can really drag on community excitement, willingness of new folks to get on board. And you've seen a little bit of that with Bitcoin and its reputation for being originally kind of like a way to money launder or something like that. And now some folks, when you talk to them about Bitcoin, all they want to say is, hey, isn't that thing that you use to buy drugs? And Joseph Stiglitz last week at Davos mentioned that he thought governments would eventually regulate Bitcoin out of existence. So there's something really to be concerned about here in terms of keeping our eye on the ball with regulation so that we don't get to a point where we suddenly realize that regulation is making it difficult for NEO to grow in the way that we want it to. All right, so first, two big takeaways. There's lots of government attention on all of us here in this room, everyone involved in cryptocurrency blockchain, and there's really serious consequences for ignorance. Then I think there's one other big takeaway we have to keep in mind when we're thinking about blockchain cryptocurrency legislation, and that's that it's very diverse. Governments all around the world are reacting in really different ways to cryptocurrency and blockchain. Roland Sun actually laid out really well yesterday. He's right here in the front. Kind of the diversity of reactions to cryptocurrency and blockchain just in Asia. And he laid out some of the examples here, and it's worth going back and watching his talk if you missed it. So I won't pay too much attention to this, but just keep in mind that there's kind of three big buckets of governments right now. Some governments are limiting or rejecting cryptocurrency technology. Some are embracing and regulating it, places like Japan, the Philippines, Australia, Mexico. And then most of the world is kind of waiting and seeing what happens to cryptocurrency blockchain. I think the US is kind of like that. We don't have really clear guidelines yet on all of this stuff. Same in Europe. But I think eventually, all this will become more clear, but I don't think it'll become more clear in that everyone will end up in the same bucket in terms of regulating cryptocurrency in the same way. It's going to be difficult for a long time to wrap your mind around all the different approaches, all the different laws you need to keep in mind if you want to have a global cryptocurrency-related project. And for it to grow and be sustainable, you're going to have to be aware of all the different laws in all the jurisdictions you're operating in so that you don't get on the wrong side of the law. All right, so then how can we kind of help the community deal with all the questions related to blockchain and cryptocurrency that clearly people are going to have to think about given how many folks we just saw who are doing ICOs in the next year, and given how global the NEO community is. You've heard a lot about how that's one of our strengths. We're dispersed around the world. We come together to work on incredible projects that have the potential to change the way the global economy functions. But with that comes all those challenges I just laid out in terms of dealing with this wide range of jurisdictions. So we think, so NEO's been thinking about this a lot, and we think we have part of the solution, and we're calling it the Global Blockchain Compliance Hub. The idea is that it'll be kind of like an online Wikipedia or resource for the community that folks can go to and consult to kind of get a first look at all the legal questions, legal issues they need to keep in mind in whatever jurisdiction they're setting their company up in. And then they'll also be able to be connected to lawyers who have built this database through the database. So we're hosting it on the NEO project's GitHub. So for anyone here who regularly checks the GitHub, that you may have noticed in the past few days, we've merged kind of our test GBCH, which is what we're calling it in shorthand, onto the public NEO project GitHub. So you can go and check it out. I'll put up the links on in 2 slides. And we've kind of jump-started the project by already focusing on a few key jurisdictions like Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Switzerland, Gibraltar, and a number of others that there's particular interest in by working with top lawyers around the world and blockchain enthusiasts around the world who are ready to contribute and have the legal expertise necessary, but that the community isn't yet aware of. So again, it's kind of in the NEO spirit, we want it to be a community-driven project down the road. And we want it to be something that reduces legal friction for projects so that we can maintain this amazing growth we've seen in the NEO ecosystem so far, and so that people don't have to worry about getting on the wrong side of the law, and they can be aware of all the issues that might crop up down the way and stop this incredible progress we've seen. So let me talk a little bit about the material that's covered in the database, and that was the homepage there on the right side. So first off, the database covers for each jurisdiction. So for example, you can go to the Singapore page for the database, you can go to the US page, et cetera, et cetera. It covers, first off, all the basics of registering a company in that jurisdiction. So whether you want to do a nonprofit or a for-profit, what do you need to include in your registration package? Who can be a member of the team, depending on where their nationality? Are there any restrictions related to that? What are the taxes you're going to be looking at in whatever jurisdiction you want to incorporate in? And then what are the bylaw requirements for your filing? Then we move on to all the questions related to blockchain that are kind of have generated more buzz in recent weeks and months. So first off are the big ones surrounding token sales. Are ICOs legal in the jurisdiction you're looking at? And if they are legal, what laws kind of restrict ICOs, if any? And then also, are the tokens you're going to be issuing, whatever they're called, utility token or currency, whatever, are they considered securities in that jurisdiction? So we have to comply with securities laws. Then we're going to try and look at data privacy on public blockchain. So how do data privacy laws apply to data that you're hosting on the public blockchain? Liability. So is the user of a smart contract going to be liable for the smart contract, falling apart if something goes wrong? Will their funds or whatever they're putting on the blockchain be liable, or will the author of the smart contract need to come up with whatever was lost? Or will it actually be the platform itself that's liable, the equivalent of Vimeo or Ethereum? Then we're going to look at dispute resolution. How do you resolve disputes on blockchains? How do you resolve disputes over the execution of a smart contract? And then we're also going to look at the definition of smart contracts in terms of the degree to which they're actually legally binding. And then finally, touching on an issue that was covered a little bit in the panel yesterday, we'll try and cover the immutability of smart contracts and how that applies to their execution down the line. There's the trickiness of it being kind of awkward to edit a smart contract and then see how that impacts with past transactions on the blockchain and how that would impact future transactions. So two caveats. First off, folks using the database shouldn't take it as legal advice. It's a primer. You should still seek an actual lawyer to talk to once you kind of go through this. It's a way so that you can, first off, kind of start to conceptualize all the questions you need to keep in mind when you're setting up a new blockchain cryptocurrency project. And it's also a way to put you in touch with lawyers. So I'll touch on that in the next slide. And then the second caveat is that a lot of these questions have yet to be answered. So, and that's what kind of makes this initiative so important and so exciting, because this space is changing so quickly and is going to impact a vast number of projects on the Neo blockchain whenever new legislation comes out related to blockchain or cryptocurrency. We're going to try and keep it constantly updated. And you'll see when you browse through the database that some areas we say, this isn't clear yet. These are what some people are saying. We include suggested readings in the database. But you really need to think about this or keep this in mind or keep checking up on it down the line. So then touching on how we're actually going to pull this off and how we're going to make it a community project going forward. Those are live links, so you can look. The second to last link is the live site. We're going to try and get a bit of a more elegant URL, but that's where we are for now. And then you can see the live GitHub repository. And that's where lawyers will go to contribute to the to our repository, to our database. And then once they contribute, they will then have the option of being listed on the bottom of whatever page. So if you're a Singapore lawyer, you could get in touch with us. You could make a pull request on the GitHub repository. We look at it, we say, oh, it checks out, this guy seems great, or this woman seems great, and then we will include you at the bottom of the page as a kind of approved contributor, someone that projects in Singapore could look to get in touch with if they actually want to move towards seeking counsel and incorporate. So I think that's and then the only other thing is you don't necessarily need to be a lawyer to contribute. If you're really interested in blockchain and you're thinking about all the legal questions related to it, if that fascinates you, I'm not a lawyer, but this is all really fascinating to me. You can still contribute to the GitHub because a lot of the legislation related to blockchain and cryptocurrency is so new that really people are still just getting a grasp of it in the legal world as well. So we think, and with this sort of database, it's worthwhile to have anyone interested in that sort of stuff contributing. So check out the live website, check out the GitHub repository. If you're a developer, make sure you're thinking about all these issues as you bring your project to the point where you're incorporating or doing an ICO or token sale. If you've already done those things, still think about these things. And if you're a lawyer or someone interested in legal questions related to blockchain and cryptocurrency, please consider contributing to the repository and getting in touch with me. There's my email, and I really look forward to seeing what everyone here accomplishes with their projects, and look forward to seeing what we can do with the GBCH. So thanks so much, everyone.
Awesome. That last talk was a treat. This is the candy, right? Lunch, same deal as yesterday. All the food is out in the hallway, so feel free to grab some food, socialize. I believe we're starting back again at 2 p.m. Let me confirm that again, but yeah, see you guys out there.
Hey, kick that over. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you like Whoppers?
Oh, I love Whoppers.
Oh,
yeah.
First one.
Oh, what? Oh, come on.
Those are the easy trades when I was trick-or-treating.
Well, I would have traded the shit out of you.
Yeah, Twizzlers? You like Twizzlers?
Oh, I love Twizzlers. Twizzlers and Whoppers.
That's a bargain. I'm a Twizzler guy.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. The break, everybody, the break's gonna be an hour. So at 2 o'clock, and then I'll be back. So I'm gonna go grab some food and whatnot, and I'll be back at 2. Cheers, everybody. He said jump down too hard.